There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonko table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonko table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yo, folks, welcome to the latest and the greatest from the Yonko table. That is the voice of Grandmaster Hoop coming at you for Voyage 4. That's right, folks. It's season 4 of the Yonko table. We're 4 years in. We've been going strong, and we're here because we love being here. With me, as always, is fellow Yonko, Dr. Jace. Oh, he's not here. That's all right. Mondays are his streaming days, so fortunately, he couldn't be with us tonight, and that's okay. But listen, folks, we got a show for you tonight. It's going to be a great one. We're picking up at our cliffhanger season 3 finale with, we didn't finish the year with our year-end review or our movies of 2023. But here we are at this Voyage 4 premiere to pick up where we left off. And we're here to talk about the films of 2023. Now, of course, if you've been a fan of the Yonko Table, you'll know that films of 2022 was led by Supernova, Dr. Rika, and Hooper TV. But guess what? One of them is back to lead the way again, all the way. It's Dr. Rika, folks. Folks, give it up for Dr. Rika. She's here. She's going to go ahead and take the helm and lead us into this discussion of films of 2023. Dr. Rika, the table is yours by all means.
Yes, last time I was the commissioner for our Pride draft.
That's the word.
Yeah, and before that, was I your sous chef or pastry chef?
Oh, I probably said sous chef. Sous chef is more respectable.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Shout out to the pastry chefs, though.
Yes. Shout out to all the Marcuses in the world.
Yes. Well, I learned a lot from last year's 3-hour podcast, and that's maybe to not make a 3-hour podcast. But I'm appreciative of the opportunity to talk about 2023 in film with my fellow Supernovas. I thought it was a really great year. So I think we should just jump right into how we feel about this year in film. We'll talk about a couple themes before we start discussing our favorites and disappointments of the year. But how did y'all feel about 2023 at the movies?
I feel like after we, had our little blip, we were gone from COVID. We're getting back into a society where we're starting to go out more. I'm glad to see that movies are starting to get more people. Do I think that they're back to the early thousands? No. But I do think, though, that we're starting to get back from post-COVID sort of audience sizes. So people are starting to come in more. However, I have noticed that some movies that were supposed to be anticipated blockbusters, there weren't a lot of people in the audience. So I'm wondering if the script was flipped a little bit after some previously disappointing films that happened in the past year. But that's my takeaway from it.
Yeah, I feel it was a pretty good year when it came to the movies. I always look for an excuse to go to the movies. Sometimes I'm disappointed, but overall, I think I just love the movie going experience more than anything. And the popcorn also. Yeah, it was a year of solid movies, and we got at one point 2 big blockbusters coming out at the same weekend, and that was something that I kind of missed, and it was nice to see it come back like that.
Similar sentiments to you both. I think 2023 is pretty great. Yeah, I'll wait till we compare it to 2022, but I definitely found myself thoroughly enjoying a good amount of movies this year. And I will say this as well. I'm enjoying movies that are kind of outside the norm of what I typically go watch. Similar to Darce's point, the blockbusters, the superhero films, not all of them doing it like they used to. And so I find myself having to branch out, check out other movies I don't typically would watch. And I probably watch them around award season, but now I find myself going to the movies to pick up movies that I probably wouldn't even give a second glance to. So, and a lot of 2023 was really surprising for me. I feel some of these movies that I'm speaking about, and I'll get into it more later, I went in completely blind. Uh, like I maybe heard one review, I maybe saw one little thing on social media, and then I just went, and it panned out really well. So I really like 2023, but there are some bad things I don't like, and we will get into those. But overall, 2023 was really good. I can't wait till we do the comparison. 2023 hit where it needed to. I'm done.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, all of us have some type of like movie pass of some sort, whether AMC A-list or the Regal. And mainly because I've noticed, like Grandmaster Hoop, you mentioned like, oh, I'm seeing a lot more movies that typically I wouldn't see until award season. Because you would text like our little group chat and would mention something. I was like, oh, like okay.
Oh.
And I think there's something about being able to utilize these passes to go see a variety of film. And you're right, there was just so much that was good. And I think a lot of the things that would typically bring in audiences or money were subpar. So I think a lot more folks were willing to try, whether it be satires, I'll talk about an experience I had this past weekend, or even musicals. Like The Color Purple did really well. We're about to talk about like the two biggest films of the year in Barbie and Oppenheimer. But like a lot more folks, I think, were just giving different types of films a try. We'll talk about like, I'm pretty sure, I think the numbers are coming in that Godzilla -1 and The Boy and the Heron are two of like starting to become two of the highest grossing non-English films. And I think that's really amazing for just the movies and for the industry to see different types of film and artists be able to express themselves and then that be supported. So, but let's talk about the $2 billion movies. This is
Oppenheimer, it crossed a bill.
I thought it did it not?
I think it did. Like Barbie, I think crossed it like first, and I think Barbie like was a bigger hit at the box office, but they both I think crossed $1 billion.
Good for them.
We could be wrong about it. You're welcome to Google.
I got it. I got you.
Grandmaster got us. But regardless,
fact
two
checker.
of the biggest films of the year, Barbie and Oppenheimer.
No. What's the face for?
955.1.
All right. We're going to round up. It's close enough. The point is a 3-hour biopic and a Barbie movie.
A Barbie movie. A movie about a boy.
Combined
About history.
likely to be $2+ billion.
The way you just described that is hilarious. A biopic and a Barbie movie. Hilarious. Yeah, that's what it was.
I think
They
what it
released the
is,
same weekend.
I think that's what did it. You have like the
did you all
contrast.
participate in Barbenheimer on that particular weekend?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's talk about who's a true Barbenheimer here.
I am.
No. A true Barbenheimer saw it both in one day.
Back to back.
Oh, in one day?
one
Okay.
day?
Yes, one day.
I
That's
thought
a
it said
true
weekend.
Barbenheimer.
Okay,
have-
so
I ain't
who's
got no
Barbenheimer weekender?
I'm a
Uh,
weekender.
I'm a
Well,
weekender.
Okay, so we saw a good amount of us saw Barbie Thursday night, and then we saw Oppenheimer Sunday. I think there was some other stuff going on. So
I think it was like Barbie Thursday, Oppenheimer like Saturday. That's where I saw it.
So wait, you're not even a full Barbieheimer? You didn't do it on the same day?
no, I'm not. I've never claimed to be a true
You just
Barbenheimer.
asked if you were.
Bring it up then.
I want because that's a big thing. Some people, and you
Some
know,
people, yeah, it was very important.
to
Yeah,
Dr.
right,
Rika's
right.
point is that, yeah, people made the commitment. This is like something I wrote in my notes. People been clamoring for the movie events. We haven't had like these like true movie events in forever, and it's crazy because I think people just made an event when there really was no event. This was not an event. This was not a marketing scheme. This is literally fans of, or would-be fans of Barbie and would-be or known fans of Christopher Nolan. And they said, it's all out war. we have to go. But then somebody said, no, we gotta go see both. It's Greta Gerwig doing a Barbie movie. We have to go see both. And this event just blew up. Haha, blew up Oppenheimer.
Oh dear.
And I think like this past summer, I think part of it was helped, and I'm not the first person to have said this, but this idea of like an event, I think this idea of Barbenheimer was helped by the Eras Tour and Renaissance Tour also happening, where it was like an event of people just being able to dress up and like have fun with their friends, with groups of people all going to see the same thing at the same time. And so you had like this happening at concerts, this happening at movies. And it's just something about people wanting community again. I think to Darcy's point earlier of like, okay, if we were in the house for multiple years and all we can do is just watch our screens, whether that be cell phone, TV, etc., and not actually physically be somewhere, whether it be a theater, whether it be a concert venue, being able to do that again just felt really special. And so there was just a lot of energy around like, what outfit am I going to wear, and then what am I going to change into when it comes to the second film. So,
wait, so did you change, or did you wear a conglomerate of?
I watched Barbie on Thursday and I watched Oppenheimer last week.
Last week?
That is so funny.
I literally moved that weekend.
Oh, okay.
So I had to pick one, and then I was out of the state. Like, so,
you know what? You get a pass. You get a pass.
I dressed up for Barbie.
I wore a pink shirt.
Yeah,
I
wore a pink shirt. And I also dressed. And like Oppenheimer, I think I went all black, which is like kind of my usual attire.
Oh, you did? I don't think I dressed up for Oppenheimer.
But I
think I debated.
Putting a hat in a movie theater? I don't know. That sounds a little sus. Not sus, but like I don't want to block the view of the people behind me.
Screw them.
So
considerate. You could have worn a hat.
I have an Oppenheimer-esque hat. I guess I could have worn it. It was late Sunday night, and I forced everybody to go watch it IMAX, and people were already mad when I told them it's like a 2-hour and 58-minute movie. So it was a really tough day. So we did what we could. It's an event, as what we were saying. I think also too is that, again, and I mentioned it earlier with like blockbusters, I'm specifically looking at superhero films. Those events have not been hitting for people, and they wanted something new. And honestly, Barbie had a lot of great press behind it and great marketing, and
a great cast, a great crew. Like,
you wanted to show up for Barbie. It
looked like quality stuff. Like, granted, it was like, whoa, like I gotta give it props and all that. Like, they made a movie of a doll, and it was like an amazing movie. I love
so much more. And then
it was so much more than just like, oh yeah, this is a Barbie movie. No, it's so much more than a Barbie movie. But yes, it is a Barbie movie.
And you just had to be there. I can't imagine the conversation for people who did not go watch Barbie specifically. Oppenheimer, people can get around to. Now, if you watch it that weekend, kudos to you. But Barbie specifically, I feel there's a culture, there's a zeitgeist.
Being in the movie theater, like that full movie theater with everyone like dressed in pink or whatever they were dressed at. It was like part of the fun was just like being there. Even before the movie started, you were already having a blast because you were just like, what the hell? Like, people are so creative. It's like, this is just like a massive party here. And then like the movie starts, and the movie in itself is a massive party, but it takes you for a ride. So it's like, it was like, whoa, this is very meta. I freaking love it.
It just delivered.
Yeah. I wonder if there was like, were there anybody that was not peer pressured by society, but like, because this was such a Barbieheimer event, they're like, I don't really have any feeling to go watch Oppenheimer, but because everybody's saying Barbieheimer, I should probably go watch Oppenheimer.
Well,
I'm pretty sure people are peer pressured, and I don't care.
Well, to that point, there was a good like demographic of people who were like, all right, I'll go watch Barbie with my girlfriend, but now she has to sit through Oppenheimer with me, and I think that's hilarious. And honestly, it worked.
I'm pretty sure
you know,
I'm pretty sure that I dragged my girlfriend to see Barbie.
well, like it works because just one is, I guess, technically kind of feminine, and the other is really masculine dominant. And if you end up seeing both, I think you're the best person around. That's just me.
I do think something that was really to your point too of like, okay, if I'm going to see one because of this like tag now, I'm going to go see the other. I recall like listening to a podcast before that weekend had happened, and people were just making kind of predictions based off of their knowledge of the box office. A lot of folks were thinking like 45, 50 million for Oppenheimer specifically, because it's 3 hours, it's a biopic, and it's, a biopic about someone who like people know, but not in the way that we know someone like a president or a prime minister or like a musician, right? And so a lot of like the thought was like, oh, okay, it'll make money because it's Christopher Nolan, but not to the degree that it actually ended up making that weekend. And I think a lot of it was based on just like that marketing push and these are two different companies, two different distributions, really have nothing to do with each other, but just the power of like the internet, and word of mouth, and like having the opportunity to go and do something together with people who are excited, sucked people in, which I think is great. Like, it's nice that people just got excited about going to the movies.
Yeah, and they were so like contrasted too, because you had Oppenheimer, which was like a sit down, a think, oh, like let me go and like be invested in the story and the characters to a sense that is a lot more serious than like the lighthearted Barbie that you're there. Like Dr. Mondo was saying, you're there having a party, you're having a good time. Is pink, like everything is fun, like and it's a great time. So like the two contrasts, and then the thing that got me the most on social media was like my two personalities in one weekend, whereas like the stark difference between the two. That to me was my favorite part
So
about
like the memes of Barbenheimer were quality stuff.
And they were some
The
quality.
fan posters were quality. They
those
looked real.
fans. No, like there was some quality stuff going around, and I was like, wow, I'm proud of people.
Now, I think, a big kind of question mark that Barbenheimer leaves on the industry and the culture as a whole. People are going to try to repeat the success of Barbenheimer.
Oh, absolutely.
And I honestly don't think it can be done because, one, it wasn't intentional.
Lightning does not strike twice.
Right. And it's just like the more people will try to, recreate this success, I don't know. I just can't. Yeah, lightning in a bottle, one-time thing. I mean, I hope for the best, but this was it. If you weren't here for it, man, I feel this is it.
I think the power of people and really good marketing. And so I imagine we will talk more about Barbie or Oppenheimer in some way, some form as we move towards our favorites or disappointments of the year. Hopefully neither of them were a disappointment, but we never know. The next big event of the film industry, of the TV industry, really of Hollywood in general, were the strikes. So of course, the Writers Guild Association had gone on strike first, followed by the Screen Actors Guild. And for numerous months, there was a pause on the creation of film, of television, of talk shows, etc. Anything that needed a writer, anything that needed an actor was not ongoing, at least here in the US. I think the biggest impact, beyond obviously people not getting paid in that moment, was the pause on creation, which means a lot of things were then pushed back because actors, writers, etc., were not able to properly market, which obviously we saw the power of with Barbenheimer. So they pushed a lot of things back into 2024, which I imagine maybe we'll talk about some of the things we're looking forward to that we maybe would have seen last year should the strikes not have happened. But certainly wanted to mention it and get your thoughts in terms of just how do you think this will impact what will be distributed this year, and any other thoughts besides, of course, us supporting folks wanting to be adequately compensated for the hard work that they do.
Yeah, I'll
go for it.
Oh, yeah. I'm just shout out to the writers and the actors for putting in that work. you know, they're making progress as far as, better wages all around. Still think there's a ways to go, but I'm glad they got that, you know. With that said, part of me feels TV suffered a lot more than films. But
Mhm.
speaking of 2023 films, I'm more or less okay with the films that were pushed back. My biggest concern with the strikes and all was just like there were films that suffered. Good films that suffered, and it was really unfortunate. You got films like Blue Beetle. I know, we did a whole pod on Blue Beetle, and that got hurt bad by the strike. Even films like, the Marvels, Wish. You may not like those films, but I guarantee if the strike wasn't a thing, those films would have fared off a lot better. So I feel people often forget that the strike did happen when it comes to critiquing some of these films and their box office runs. And I feel it's unfair. But the strike, this was the longest strike, right? For actors, at least.
In a while,
In a
but
while.
I can't
I know
remember
it had been like a couple of decades since like both of them went on
had
strike
happened. Yeah, had
at
happened
the
at the
same time.
time.
Like it had been, I think, like 20 plus, like 20, 30 plus years.
Gotcha. So yeah, I feel 2023 really does mark a lot of unprecedented events going down, as or at least the return of the strike. It's back. They're both on the same time. It's a huge thing. So it's going to be industry changing moving forward. But yeah, strike will forever be marked as 2023, and you got to look at some films with that in your back of the mind. So it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, and like piggybacking on what Grandmaster said, like first of all, like glad that the writers and the actors they're getting paid like what they deserve and like what they're working for. And I think like another important aspect of these strikes, and it's something like this is just kind of like the beginning of it all, is AI. Like
Oh,
AI. Like and as a resident physician, like AI, we're talking about it not only like in the film industry, we're talking about it in the in the medical field in general. Like this is like AI is coming. There's nothing we can do to stop it, and we have to adapt. We have to we have to protect our artists. We have to protect our workers. We have to protect our doctors. Everyone, like make sure it's used the right way as a true because AI has wonderful applications, but here I think one of them was it that they could take a photo so they could use someone's face, copy and paste it like in any movie with AI. They wouldn't even pay the actor. They didn't even have to ask for the author's like the actor's consent. And it's like
their voice too,
their voice too. It's
audio.
like
Yeah,
that's wild. Like and that's like the beginning of it all. Like not saying that AI is bad, right? But it's like, I think this is we get like these strikes kind of like let the world know, hey, by the way, you got to start thinking about these things. So, but again, like I'm glad that they're moving, like, they're getting paid fairly. Obviously, I think they made some like regulations there with AI, even though there's still a lot to go.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway kind of in what you were sharing is, and it's funny you bring up AI as both like something literally happening in the real world and then something that's a part of some of the movies we may be
Yeah.
talking about today. I think the intent is for AI to be like a supplement, but to allow like people to do their jobs.
Yeah.
I think so much of what the actors and writers were talking about, along with compensation and consent, et cetera, is, I am in a creative industry because I want to create. I use AI as like a supplement to help with my creation, but I don't want it to just filter out the scripts or the acting parts that I really enjoy.
Like take the human element out of it.
Yeah, out of the work of making art. And so I think so much of what folks were reflecting on is like, let creators be the ones that are creating. Obviously, we see the results of that after seeing just a whole year of really wonderful movies that'll continue on hopefully into 2024.
Yeah, and I
Any
think
thoughts?
to piggyback off of that with AI, and I know this wasn't an AI conversation, but in my industry, we talk about AI and what that means for creators and creative, and um, it's one of those things where we have to take it as a comparison also, where you had artists that were doing things by hand, and then here comes technology of the computer, and now you have graphic designers and you have visual designers and animators and all these extra things that kind of evolve the way that
Yeah.
creativity works. And just like Dr. Mondo was saying, it's part of evolution, and you have to kind
Yeah.
of take that part or you're going to get left behind. And so, people utilizing AI and crafting AI in a different way, they might be the ones that will be able to succeed because at this point, it's Pandora's box. The cat's out of the bag. Like now
Yeah.
that we have access to it, there's no going back. The only thing is to go forward. And I think that with this strike that happened in 2023, this is something that's going to affect movies for the next couple of years because if they were on pause for so long, nothing was being developed, nothing was being created. And so we are going to feel that for the next couple of years. And I think the same thing or something similar happened in 2008. And the only reason why I remember that is because we had 3 horrible seasons of Smallville out of the 10. And so we had to endure those 3 horrible seasons so we can get to the final season. And I mean, but that's just what it is. And the fans out there will know, they'll appreciate, and things still have to be created. So they'll create something.
There was a really good bit on the Golden Globes talking about the big execs if they were the ones that wrote the scripts. And it was really funny. It actually featured the cast of Across the Spider-Verse. It was really good. You should check that out. Um, AI, don't use it as a deterrent. It
Yeah.
should be, yeah.
The biggest thing too is folks where we're sharing it in terms of like in using AI, we also don't want to devalue, like you just mentioned, our people that do work from hand
Yeah.
or work from hand. I don't think that's what I was trying to say.
Work with hand.
Work with their hands. Or I'm even thinking of things like 2D, where I imagine we will be talking about Spider-Verse and how like amazed we are by like the art, the animation, etc. And that takes time and it also takes like a lot of humans. And I imagine some input from machines and from algorithms. But how can we use it together and not also devalue the people who do something a little differently and ensure that people are going to be adequately compensated in whatever way that they create their art?
Agreed. And I think also an important note is that if you utilize AI to your advantage, it might help by opening up your capacity for a lot of things, whereas some tasks that you never realized were like minutia or minute tasks that like were a little tedious, you can now send that off to have something else. That way your brain can expand into something that we may have never even thought of. That's part of that evolution part of it. And to your point, that's right. I do not want to like put down anybody who does work with their hands and don't want to say like they were left behind on the evolution train. But I do want to say like this is part of society's way of growing. And for those that are scared, like don't be scared. Like Skynet is not real just yet.
Not just yet. Well, the very last thing that we'll mention as far as themes are concerned are just how we feel 2023 compares to the 2020s thus far. I know it's been kind of an interesting start to the decade, what with COVID and how that then impacted not only our daily lives, but also the film industry and what we were not watching in theaters, but watching from our couches. But sir, how do you feel about 2023 in comparison to 20, 21, 22?
I think I'm gonna start. Sorry, Grandmaster Hoop. I know that
Oh,
you
no,
were
you're
just
fine. You're fine. I'm ready to
um,
disagree. Should someone say something dumb?
oh, excellent. So I think that this was the year of animation. I think animation did take a good stride. Some of the movies that I had on my list were Puss in Boots and The Last Wish, Across the
That
Spider-Verse.
is 2022.
I saw it January 2nd of 2023 because it was still in
You
theaters, so it
you
counts.
failed. You
Anyway,
failed.
I think that there were a lot of really good movies out there that had really good animated elements to it. So I think 2023 it won in that aspect. We also had another 2022 movie, but I saw it in 2023.
That does, you
Um,
can't say it here. Don't
The
say
Way
it.
of Water. I thought that was pretty
Oh,
good.
what are you doing?
So anything that came out like Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, that counts as 2023. Thank you for all of my
No,
fans that are listening in and agreeing with me. And
they
then
talked
checking
about it in the 2022 film review.
We did indeed do that.
You're,
Okay, Bob.
we're cutting
I'm
that.
glad you enjoyed. It's
Cut.
clear that you enjoyed stuff from 2022 then.
Cut.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're not a supporter of 2023. You like 2022. You talked about
think-
2 movies that came out in 2022. You
I
did
think
not
you're
like
just an
2023.
anti-ally on this
I'm
part.
I'm not an anti-ally. There's that's not what's going on here. Somebody else take it. Let's hear any
Okay.
other wrong things.
All right, Dr. Mondo, how do you feel about
Okay,
it?
so 2023. I'm gonna piggyback on what Dar said. This was the year animation really made a huge stride, and even I would say like foreign movies too, like to a certain degree, like Godzilla. I think, which is the French movie that's being nominated. I think that was nominated.
Anatomy of a Fall.
Anatomy of a
Anatomy of the
Fall.
Fall. I haven't seen it. It's on my list, but like again, like international movies, non-English speaking animation, because there's always been that kind of like taboo with animation, saying it's like, yeah, animation's great, but it's always like that but. And here it's like, no, there is no but. It's like animation is an art form that deserves recognition, and like at the same level as like any other movie. Now, when it comes to like the best movie, in my opinion, like 2022 had a better movie. Everything Everywhere All at Once is still out of this world for me.
We talking about 2022 movies.
But overall, I enjoy 2023 more than 2022.
Grandmaster Hoop, how do you feel about 2023 in comparison to our other 20s?
And if you
Oh,
mention any movie from 2020,
I won't
will
because I know how to stay
disregard
on
you.
topic. Thank you. And I know how a calendar reads and how a 2 is different from a 3.
Oh, so you're calling me illiterate. Okay.
I'm calling you unarithmetic, which means you're bad at
Okay.
math. I think that's a word.
How do you feel about 2023?
2023 is great, as I said earlier. Kind of to Dr. Mondo's point. I will say Everything Everywhere, fine. It's really good. It's really great. I love that movie. You know how I feel about it. But as a whole, I think 2023 really delivered. Yes, I agree with the animation bits. Animation is making huge strides and love to see more where it goes. Yeah, I think it was a great year for animation. I think it was a great year for comedies too. Right. I feel comedies often get slept on.
Yeah.
I need to still watch The Holdovers, but I'll get into kind of my sleeper picks later on. That's when those come up. But also, yeah, I don't know. 2023 just really did it for me. It had a lot of surprises for me. I know that's a category too, so I'll save it for there too. But yeah, no, thoroughly enjoyed 2023 compared to the other years. 2022 definitely was a step in the right direction. I think 2020 and 2021, honestly, can be somewhat forgettable. I think there was a couple of milestones in each year, but ultimately, as a whole, I feel it's I might call it. I mean, to its credit, it was in the pandemic years. It was, really tough for 2020 and 2021. So they did suffer from that. But I think 2023 delivered what is it? All 4 engines they were pumping. Yeah. I don't know the saying. They're milking the udder from all 4 nips.
And I'm just gonna add one little thing that I forgot. 2023 was the reality check that superhero movies needed overall.
Yeah, you can say that. That's fair.
Like,
Yeah.
2023 was that reality check. More specifically, maybe like MCU.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna piggyback off of that. I'm gonna say blockbusters in general.
Reality.
There was a lot of fails in blockbusters.
Mhm.
2023 brought that to a head. I think 2023 really opened the eyes to we want different. We want something new.
Yeah.
Like it,
What
the
works,
same old
what
ain't
works
gonna cut it.
yesterday is not, what worked yesterday is not going to work today, and it's
I
definitely
mean,
not
unless
gonna
it's
work
better,
tomorrow.
than yesterday. But y'all haven't been bumping. Ooh, I'll get into my disappointments later. All these things are coming. They're coming.
So,
I
I
will say, yeah, I do agree in terms of with Grandmaster Hoop. This is probably my favorite, like, of the 2020s, like holistically the year and all of the various options. I think there were some standout films last year, which you can go listen to my 3 hour podcast if you want to know what I thought was standing out. Um, but like if I look at the year as a whole, if I look at what I predict the Oscar, Best Picture nominees are going to be, I'd probably like all 8 to 10 of those, and I can't say that every year. There's some years where I'm like, okay, whatever the front runners may be in terms of like the top 10 or 15 films, like there's half of those that I tend to like. And this year I'm like, oh, I can feel really charmed or really respect or really feel connected to a lot of the films that came out this year, or I guess technically last year. We're already in
Oh
January,
wow, I guess we're in 2024, right? Okay.
technically, yeah. But yeah, I think holistically, just the diversity of films from like you said, there were some comedies and really wonderful animation and really great like international features and romantic films and musicals, and like there's just a variety of films that we got to see this year and all of them pretty quality. Like you can probably find a genre and select a film from that genre that was pretty damn good.
Yep.
So
I also wanted to note that I don't remember in the past couple of years a romantic comedy movie coming back into the theater that is like specifically in that romantic comedy genre, because I don't really count like Barbie as a romantic comedy, but like this recent one with Sydney Sweeney, let me find the name of it, Anyone But You. I feel like that one was a little bit more of like that gimmicky romantic comedy first date type of movie or whatever, and we miss those. We miss that era of like those romantic comedies. So I kind of had a good time watching that one.
We
And I think to your point though, there were a couple films that were kind of like that in terms of like things that we missed. Like and I imagine we'll talk more specifically about films, but when it comes to a specific type of like action blockbuster or specific type of drama, that a lot more folks were drawn to those compared to maybe some of those like franchise films that weren't as successful this year. But I'd like for us to talk about what we really loved and what we were maybe disappointed by. And so we'll move forward into our favorites and disappointments. Where we'll start is just your experience in the theater. I think a lot of what we've talked about this far is like Barbie, Oppenheimer, dressing up, being in the theater, sharing space or popcorn with the people around us. So I'd love to know, what did you enjoy seeing most in the theaters in 2023?
you got one answer. One. The most.
if I'm talking about experience as a whole, Barbie. Not saying that Barbie's like the best movie, like the #1 movie I saw, but it's like as a movie going experience, the popcorn, the ambiance, the movie, the whatever, Barbie.
Respectable. Let me just go ahead and kick the door open, okay? Hello. Across the Spider-Verse. And let me just say, it has the
whole thing.
listen. I felt things in that movie I haven't felt in a very long time. Okay. Don't you look at me like that. You were there. Okay. Well, you were there one of the times. Just the feeling that movie leaves you on, like literally edge of your seat. I was literally on the edge of my seat. And then, that ending score by Daniel Pemberton kicks in, and we got that ending scene and we got the cliffhanger. And I just haven't felt like that since Infinity War, like, to be honest. And what a fun feeling. It's like this scared, excited,
It's
sad.
the eagerness of what's gonna happen next.
Oh, it was just so perfect. I love a perfect ending.
If we're talking about like a superhero movie, like that's feeling, I totally agree with you. Like
Yeah.
I left Across the Spider-Verse just, oh my God, I can't
My
wait.
mouth was ajar, agap. My mouth was left agape.
Legat.
Yeah, and no theatrical experience this year has topped that. Some got close, but oh man, that feeling, it's incredible. That movie did things to me. Yeah.
Um,
Darce?
I do have to piggyback off of that because that was also my favorite movie experience watching it. I did not go into that movie knowing that there was a part two coming out. So when it left on that cliffhanger, I was willing and able to sit for another 45 minutes to 2 hours to see how this thing was going to end. I was so excited. Like during the whole, like it literally flew by, and I haven't been that um captured by a movie in a hot minute. So I did have a really good time watching Across the Spider-Verse. Um, to what Grandmaster Hoop was saying, the score was phenomenal. Every time or when I rewatch it, every time I see a scene with Gwen in her universe, like tears. And it's because of the beauty of that animation and how they use
Like
the
the
color palettes.
watercolor.
And oh,
Mhm.
fantastic.
Beautiful.
And so the
Ooh,
animators, they knew what they were
you
doing.
reminded me
So
of a great. You just like for some reason you reminded me of one of my favorite scenes that I hadn't like thought about, and like we're gonna talk.
I could say so. I picked something different because I figured that Across the Spider-Verse would
Did you now?
yes. And I will say my experience real quick. I was just like giggling in the theater. I just remember being sat, prepared, ready to take it in, and just having such a wonderful time. Like, it just yeah, it was a really really wonderful experience. But the other film that I'm gonna select is John Wick 4.
Ooh.
Um,
Very
Another
good.
one in which I'm just in my seat laughing, not because something is funny, but because
It's
like
because it's so ridiculous. It's
how
so
much fun it is.
ridiculous and so fun. Like I'm just, yeah. Like I'll just say one scene. It's when he just falls down all the stairs. I
There,
died. I was like,
oh,
oh God.
just an excellent action film. Like no notes. I got nothing else to say besides like, you know, I wish there was more, but I'm okay with where kind of the story is at least temporarily ended. I can always hope. Um, but just I think when we talked about being able to return to the theaters, that is like what I want to see is just like absolute fun, but like clear quality in that fun. So yeah, John Wick 4.
Well,
I
I
do.
like to just oh, I just real quick, John Wick 4, 40X. What an experience with John Wick 4 and 40X. You felt every punch, every slap, every fall, every stab, everything. Great. Love it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, and I was just gonna say really quick, a close second for me would be Oppenheimer, just because when I did watch it, I saw it in the way that Christopher Nolan recommended to watch it in like the 35 millimeter. And
wow, that's
on top of that, we had people from the original test site when they practiced the atomic bomb, and they were there, and they had people that were talking about the social issues that came after that. And so like there was a whole panel that came afterwards, and I'm like, wow, this really elevated that movie experience to a
that's
whole new
cool.
level.
That's really cool. I'm glad you shared that. Thanks. Well, we moved from the theater to our couch. So what was your favorite direct to streaming release that you enjoyed? Again, direct to streaming, which means never went to at least a wide release. I recognize that sometimes Netflix or other companies will do a small release in like LA or New York for awards purposes. I'm talking anything that went direct to streaming or was never like wide release in a theaters and was mainly for streaming purposes.
For
Um,
me, oh sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Mondo.
For me, the Killer, the Michael Fassbender movie, that was a fun movie. And I Nimona was a direct to Netflix,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Nimona was another one that I really, really enjoyed a lot. Like I know like in the chat everyone was raving about it, and I was like, okay, let me see it. Like really loved it. Like one of the favorite movies that I saw when it came to like just direct to streaming this year.
I agree. Nimona. One, gosh, maybe I'm impartial to Netflix because I feel I only watched Netflix movies on streaming. So yeah, when it came down to it, Nimona made my list. It's a very small list. Nimona, which was fantastic. Yeah, animation again, doing things. They cloned Tyrone.
Oh, adding that one. Yes, they cloned Tyrone. I forgot about that one.
Right. Yes. Don't forget about Tyrone. What a fun movie. Excellent cast. And who's that? That's Bootsy, right? I think. Actually, don't quote me. Either way, yeah, just a fun movie, and I love seeing John Boyega in the lead role, and Tiana Paris as well. Probably her best movie this year, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, but it is what it is. And then yeah, Jamie Foxx rounding it out is oh no, it's not Bootsy Collins, it's Jewel Taylor. Never mind. But yeah, they cloned Tyrone. I hope more people go watch that. The only other movie I watched, I think, on streaming was Zoe 102.
Oh God. Well, I also I saw Leo.
Ew, which I actually heard it wasn't that bad, but
Leo's actually pretty good.
I know I don't want to watch
actually
it.
Pretty
though.
funny.
I don't want to watch it, but
Funny,
I
'cause I
might.
think Dr. Rika and I both watched Zoe 102 together.
Oh, I forgot we did throw that on while we were just laying here. That's funny.
It
Do
wasn't
you have any
bad.
favorite direct to streaming releases, Dars?
I too did not watch too many movies that were direct to streaming. I'm not even sure if Elemental had any time in the theaters.
Yes,
or
it
if-
did.
Yeah,
God. Oh, you're just not pay
Okay, thank you
attention.
so much.
Leave
Anyway,
him alone.
I think that my favorite one, just because I don't remember what was direct to streaming, would be Red, White, and Royal Blue. Just because that had a lot of buzz with it, and then it was on my list of books to read, but I don't know how to read, so I just waited for it to come out and I watched it.
Oh man.
I did quickly read the book. I like binged it over a weekend so that I could then watch the film whenever it came out. That was a good choice. It was a cute movie. Mine came from Hulu. So Hulu has in partnership with, well, I don't know if it's a partnership. I think it's just kind of what happened whenever a monopoly happens. So Fox Searchlight Pictures ends up on Hulu because Fox is now, of course, owned by Disney, and they have to kind of distribute some movies in some places, and not all of them are going to go to Disney Plus, so a lot of them go to Hulu. There were two films that I really enjoyed that were released, at least in that manner. And so one is called No One Will Save You, which is a sci-fi, like alien invasion type movie, starring, oh no, I should have looked up her name. I see her face. She's been in quite a lot of things.
Help us.
There's Caitlin Devers, is that?
Oh,
Bieber.
I know her. She's
she's been in a number of things. And so I really liked this movie. It was a surprise. Like I went into it, I think someone had recommended, someone talked about it on a podcast. I was like, oh, I'll go check it out. It was just a really surprising kind of twist on the genre. So it's basically a silent film. Like there's really barely any dialogue, and the alien was kind of cool, and the story was unexpected, and it's a pretty cool film. So you should check it out. And speaking of rom-coms, Rye Lane was also a release. So this is like a UK-based rom-com. It was really pretty charming. I really loved it. What I particularly liked was the color grading. There's like a neon kind of feel to the film, in terms of just how they use color, which I thought was really, really, really cool. I like the chemistry between the two leads. So watch both of these on Hulu and like them both. So
Well, slept on.
we'll take the next section, which is on performances. So we'll be talking about 3 different things. We'll start with lead performances, but we'll be discussing supporting performances and breakout performances as well. But supporting performances likely has maybe the most options in terms of maybe what we selected, but y'all could surprise me and have a bunch of supporting or breakout performances that I didn't write down. But I'd love to know your favorite 1 to 2 lead performances, and maybe we have similar ones, maybe we don't. But who did you really love to see on a screen, whether that's in the theaters, at home this year?
All right, let me kick it off and be controversial.
Okay.
There are certain actresses I do not necessarily care for, and I think are overrated. So let me kick it off with this right quick.
Your
Emma,
favorite.
Emma Stone. Well, watch it morph.
You're gonna
Emma
start it well.
I know.
You already stirred the pot, so just continue stirring.
Listen here. Emma Stone in Poor Things. I think that is my favorite Emma Stone performance to date. So I'm just gonna kick it off like that. And funny enough, my other favorite Emma Stone performance is Cruella, which the screenwriter who did Cruella did Poor Things. So that goes to show maybe it's not even Emma Stone's fault. Maybe it's his. So let me take all her credit and give it to this screenwriter whose name escapes me.
Easy A.
Easy A is good. It's overrated, but it's good.
What's rated better in terms of
What about Birdman?
Oh God, Birdman's good too. But see, I forgot she was in it. Either way, Emma Stone and Poor Things. I think all my favorite performances were of women this year. I'll just toss them out real quick. Emma Stone, probably my number 1. Lily Gladstone. People with Stone in their name. Look at that. Fantasia Barrino, not Stone, but Barrino, really moved me in Color Purple because I didn't know she could act. So there you go. And then I'm gonna just,
She was on Broadway. She reprised the role.
Correct. I never seen the Broadway show though. Yeah. So I was taken aback. But
a lot of backhanded compliments in this.
Are these backhanded?
He's like, I didn't know she could act. Emma Stone is overrated.
She is.
She's not.
Whatever.
She's incredibly talented.
Maybe La La Land's overrated. Okay, there it is.
Her early to mid 30s is better in terms of how many more better actresses.
It is what it is. Listen, Jennifer Lawrence is also overrated, but she's not in this conversation.
I agree.
I'm gonna throw out 2 more names for you, then I'm done. Timothée Chalamet and Wonka. Okay, I am now a Timothée Chalamet fan, and he's better than Tom Holland. And yes, that's backhanded too, but it is what it is. And I'm gonna throw Cillian Murphy out there for Oppenheimer. Yeah,
I think it's Cillian. I think it's actually Cillian though.
You know what?
I'm pretty sure they pronounced it Killian last night.
There you go.
Did they? Oh, I didn't see the Golden Globes, so it's like,
Oh, well, I guess you're not a fan of Christopher Nolan either.
Okay.
We're moving on. All right. Anyone have a really positive, lovely, non-backhanded section of their lead performances?
Yeah. So I'm kind of gonna start with the actresses and so Emma Stone, I loved her in Poor Things, and Lily Gladstone. I'm not putting them in order right now. I'll leave that for later. Loved their performances. Stole the show. Actors, I would say Cillian Cillian Murphy. And of the movies I've seen, I actually liked Joaquin Phoenix a lot in Beau is Afraid.
Not Napoleon.
He did a good Napoleon, but what really sold me was Beau is Afraid.
Fair.
Folks really enjoyed that. Yeah. Darce?
I have to agree. I think Cillian Cillian Murphy, great performance. I very much enjoyed that one. Poor Things with Emma Stone as well. Fantastic performance, so captivating. And even Grandmaster Hoop's no longer wife, Hallie, she did a great job in Little Mermaid, and I really enjoyed Little Mermaid. I know that there was a lot of controversy with that, but I thought she did a great job in
I
that lead
think
role.
so too. Yeah.
She's better in the color purple.
She did have a good few lines in The Color Purple, but as a lead character, because that's the topic we are on, she did a
Oh.
great job.
Sorry, you're right.
So I had a lot of similarities in terms of like Lily Gladstone, Emma Stone. I think that's really all that you all have mentioned that I have listed. So I'll mention a couple more and then we can have some fuller conversation that I just really enjoyed. Margot.
Oh no, Margot.
Barbie.
Yeah,
There
Robbie
was, yeah, in
is
terms of just like the
Barbie.
sincerity, and playing the character, being incredibly funny, but also really earnest. I thought she was great. As far as like a little bit more like heartbreaking, did not anticipate this, but now I'm crying while watching this movie and their performance. Zac Efron in The Iron Claw.
Oh man, so I haven't seen it. Yeah, okay.
So this is a like a sports drama or sports family drama, and he is really great. Um, and so just wanted to be able to mention him, Greta Lee in Past Lives,
I was going to mention that too.
both Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore in May December, Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction, and then Tiana Taylor in 1001. And so I meant to pair Zac Efron and Tiana as far as like the cried, did not anticipate to be like, heartbroken, but I watched and they were really wonderful. So who do we want to spend a little bit more time on? All of us seem to mention Emma or Lily in some capacity, or
Like Lily,
Joanne, of course.
yeah, Lily Gladstone and like Killers of the Flower Moon as a movie. It makes you mad. It's like it's a very gut-wrenching movie and you're just mad. Like everything that's happening and you're just feeling like the suffering that Lily's character goes through, you can feel it. It's very visceral the way she like acts it out.
Yeah.
That you truly feel that suffering and you really feel for her like throughout the entire movie. And like when everything is revealed and all that, you're just like, wow.
No, she, of course, Lily Gladstone won the Golden Globe last night. We're coming to both Golden Globes and is hopefully on her way
Oscar
towards the Oscar. But we will see, considering Emma also won the Golden Globe last night in her category. But yeah, a truly affecting performance. I think her story too, just like in general, as far as Lily Gladstone maybe was considering taking time away from acting or completely shifting her career trajectory because she just wasn't getting work as a native actress. And then used her time last night in her speech to discuss just the history of Native and Indigenous people in film. And so I think, yeah, she was incredible and incredible amongst like titans of the industry.
Oh, you literally took the words out of my mouth because
and I think that's important to note too, like not only on her own, just pluck her out and she's wonderful on her own, but up against really great performances by Robert De Niro, by Leonardo DiCaprio, even her, folks that I may mention a little later, as far as just the folks playing her siblings and her sisters, just like incredible performance. And something that I've been reflecting on is whole deep respect for Martin Scorsese, but haven't always felt connected to his films. And I think a lot of it was I tend to connect more to things where there is a character I can see part of myself in. And of course, many of his films center on men, and that is not an experience I feel particularly connected to as a woman. And so being able to have Lily as a central point, as the heart, the soul of this film, really elevated at least my experience being able to watch it, and not just in a way of like admiring the filmmaking, which is frequently how I engage with a lot of Martin's films, engage with a lot of like really big directors' films, honestly. Instead of, I could just take the technical pieces out and just really enjoy the emotional connectivity that I felt, and a lot of it was because of Lily. And so just really wanting to share in that praise of her in that performance. So.
Yeah, no, the Titans bit that you said, I feel that adds to the performance so much because there's like this, there's this meta bit with the performance where, she is a native, she's an Osage person, and she's, surrounded by, the white men who are domineering and looking to take whatever control they can. And here she is acting opposite of Leo and Robert De Niro. And I don't know, it adds this layer to her performance, I feel, because she
like
now
you went against those, like, not that she was obviously competing against those two, but it's like you went not only toe to toe with these legends, you, like, in my opinion, outshone them, and they were great in the movie. And they were great. They were both fantastic in the movie. But Lily Gladstone, I was just like, whoa, like glued. She's the heart and soul of the movie. She's the glue.
I think when you put her against them, there's this uncomfortability in your acting ability to act opposite of them. And at the same time, the character of Molly herself is in a situation of uncomfortability and who to trust. And you hear these guys who've done like 10 plus films with Martin, and and she's like, I gotta fight for my right to be here. I gotta fight like the Osage people in this terrible time of theirs. And Lily's she's my front runner. She really is. And not to mention, I love a good comeuppance story. She has a brief role in Reservation Dogs, show that I watch on Hulu, which is also representative of Native people. So I love seeing her there, and I love seeing her shine here. So go Lily.
And I also like, because like, just want to give a shout out like to the movie and like and Martin Scorsese, like, for telling this story, because this is not something that you see in the history books. And like, he really, I think, did it. Like, they truly did their research with this. And like, I'm glad they told this story, because this is a story that I think really should be told, like, outside of the book, which the book is great, but it's a story that needs to be told. But Lily Gladstone, for me, she's my front runner, but like, way. And I loved Emma Stone and Poor Things, but Lily Gladstone for me is way above.
And then speaking of Emma, you gave us a good segue in terms of, I think all of us mentioned her at some point. And this feels like I think what's interesting in comparing the two roles is there's elements of physicality to both, different types of physicality. But, so much of Lily, we get to a point in the movie, and if y'all are listening to this, there will be some slight spoilers or big spoilers. We'll find out what happens, but I'm not responsible. But there is a part in the movie in which she is just really just confined to her bed and is just sick. And there's a physicality to that I think is then the opposite of like Emma's energy in her film, where there's just like, I'm able to be free and liberated and engage with the world, engage with myself, explore my sexuality. And I think there's so much like energy. It feels like a live wire in comparison to the quiet, maybe not quietness, but the slowness and the suffering of like Lily's performance. And I think there's something to noticing just beyond facial expressions, beyond dialogue, just what's happening in the body of an actor. And so that's something I really admired as far as Emma's performance was concerned. And just like, she gave it her all.
Oh, yeah. Like Emma Stone, I just found it like, it was the movie was funny, and she was funny as hell throughout the movie. But like, seeing her grow, like legit grow throughout the movie, like from being like a baby, truly, like mentally, to like the end, and like how she's like exploring the world and all that. It's funny, wonderful to see how like that innocence is kind of like broken to a certain degree, and she comes back. If Lily Gladstone didn't throw that masterful performance in Killers of the Flower Moon, like Emma Stone would have been mine.
I mean, I'm with you. I have never laughed so hard at Emma Stone. So yeah, and I really do like. Funny enough, I compare Poor Things to Precious. If you ever read Precious, Push by Sapphire, you literally watch her grow from being illiterate to literate. So I was comparing Emma Stone to Precious, where she's, like you said, she's growing. And that was really fun to watch her grow as the character and become more self-aware and, more understanding of how the world works and, how she can maneuver and manipulate things to her liking. It's a coming of age story,
It really
except
is.
it's in the body of a grown woman. Who just, you can't tell she's coming of age. So she really does that performance really well. Just, it's ridiculous, the movie.
Yeah, it really is.
And yeah, she's so believable in it. Yeah, again, overrated, but now I'm a true Emma Stone fan. There it is. Yeah.
Darce, Emma is your background, so certainly wanted to check in with you.
Yes, she definitely is. I had such a fun time watching this movie. The physical humor, like you were saying, was great. I think it was also the movie going experience, hearing the people in the audience just belly laugh so loud and like over all the exaggerations. It was so fun because it starts to get contagious at that point because you start to see it. Um, and I also loved some of the overly exaggerated moments in the movie where it will either be like so quiet for like a good like minute or 2 minutes, and it's not like to a point where it's like awkward, but it is awkward. And it's like one of those things where you're like eating your popcorn and you're like, oh, I should stop eating or else people will hear me. But then you also have the moments when she was on a boat and she was staring at Mark Ruffalo. And again, the staring was just for like a minute or 2 minutes. And it was just so funny because it was like so exaggeratedly long. And I thought that the directing of it was also really well done, along with like the set design and her costume design. Oh, baby, like that movie did really well. My roommate and I were talking about her costumes and how we need to bring back big old puffy sleeves because that was so great.
No, they did a great job with setting up as far as her character is concerned. I think you all had mentioned, I heard a few Killians, so I do want to pause, check in around actors.
I think Killian Cillian.
Oh,
It's
it's
Killian.
Killian.
Well, Killian Murphy. Like honestly, he was Oppenheimer. Like the eccentricity, that arrogance that he exuded, like with the role. And I think one thing that I really liked of Oppenheimer, and like kind of like I dove in a little bit into like the history, kind of like the historical background of the movie, right? Oppenheimer was appalled after he created the atomic bomb. He became like pretty much one of the fiercest how do you say enemies like of the atomic, like the atomic bomb and all that. Like he was ashamed of his creation. Like the quote of the Bhagavad Gita that he I am become death, destroyer of worlds. That part that he feels, that you can feel the dread and the regret and the guilt that he has on screen. And one of my favorite scenes, which I'll talk about later, is you see that like regret, and like I was like blown away by his performance, to be honest.
I'm just gonna say, as far as Killian goes, almost 10 years working with Christopher Nolan in all but supporting roles, and now he's the lead of a Christopher Nolan film, and this was the film for him because I honestly can't see anybody else in the role. And again, I like a good comeuppance story. Here, you worked with this man for a good part of your career, and he says it's you. He always knew. He always knew it was Cillian Murphy. So yeah, no, I don't know. There's a subtlety and a nuance to his performance that I think is just that's what makes it so good. Uh, yeah. To like Dr. Mondo said, he's Oppenheimer. When I think Oppenheimer, I think him.
Yep.
And I have a better understanding of kind of that mentality that went into building it, and then that regret that came after. I think it's excellently captured by Cillian Murphy. And I honestly, you know what, since we're on the actor bit right now, I will give Bradley Cooper some flowers. I just watched Maestro. I didn't know, one, that movie was about Lenny Bernstein. Two, I don't think I knew who Lenny Bernstein was before that movie. Lenny Bernstein's a pretty important composer when it comes down to it. And I'm like, wow, Bradley Cooper, thanks. I didn't care about Lenny Bernstein. And actually, I've been caring about him for some time. If you like West Side Story, you probably cared about him. So I also think Bradley Cooper did a really amazing job as Lenny Bernstein. 2 biopics. I'm trying to think if there's any fictionals that come to mind for actors.
And I'll say my shout out to Joaquin Phoenix and Beau is Afraid.
There you go.
Like Beau is Afraid is like psychological horror comedy. The movie is pathetic. It is sad. It is funny. And like seeing kind of the ridiculousness of the movie and how Joaquin Phoenix just embodies that character. It gave me, maybe not to the same extent, like as Joker, but like this psychological, he's just crazy, to be honest.
He's disturbed.
And he's disturbed. He has issues. Big ones, that. And how he brings it on. I'm also a Joaquin Phoenix stan, so I might be biased, but that was great.
Your bias is showing.
Well, just to start to wind down as we move towards supporting, just to mention a few more lead performances that we didn't spend as much time on. I'll pair 2 together because they kind of remind me of one another in terms of like quieter, introspective performances. One being, I mentioned Zac Efron in The Iron Claw and Greta Lee in Past Lives. I think where the similarities are, how do we kind of wrestle with what is happening internally and how we're responding or reacting to the world around us. And Zach's case within The Iron Claw, it's like family tragedy, paternal expectation, sibling rivalry, etc. Whereas Greta Lee, it's what ifs, what is love, what do I want out of my life, and in each of those that offered us some really wonderful performances where folks are just kind of wrestling with, how do I want to create a life for myself where I can feel satisfied and connected to people that feel important to me, and disconnected to the things that don't feel as important to me, and how do I even find any of that out? And I think being a psychologist, I'm very invested in stories like that and in reflections like that. And I think both of those performances allowed for some of that expression within film. So I wanted to spend a little time shouting both of those out. Any last shout outs before we move to supporting?
Let me speak for... Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
Rose the Crafter.
I've been listening in to the best podcast there is. Y'all are doing a great job. I agree with most of y'all takes. Emma Stone did a phenomenal job. A lot of great movies this year. And Paul Giamatti deserves some credit for the whole day. Phenomenal job. And a slow pace, funny movie. He really embodied his role. And so I'll leave it at that.
Yep, that's great. You asked earlier, someone asked actors in original films. Paul Giamatti. The Holdovers' original film is great.
Okay, there you go. Fictional. Yeah.
I also do want to do a shout out to Jesse Garcia in Flamin' Hot. That movie was actually pretty fun to watch. I had to do it for work, but it was an enjoyable movie on how the hot Cheetos were made. and his performance was fun on that one. And then also Cholo Maridueño, like in Blue Beetle, he did a fun job. He's a younger up and coming actor, but I thought he was pretty
He's one
fun.
of like he's one of my breakouts.
He's
Like,
not a breakout. He's in
well,
Cobra Kai.
I mean,
Not in
like in
movies.
movies.
They
Fine.
can find it however they want to.
Also, we have a category for breakout. Thank you.
Well, now we're gonna move to supporting before that breakout.
People don't pay attention.
So supporting doesn't mean that we value them any less. So what are some of y'all's favorite supporting performances in film this year?
I'm gonna kick the door down. Taraji and Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple. I'm gonna give it to them. Just embodying the roles of Sophia and Suge, and just some women I think that really deserve some flowers. I know Danielle Brooks originally was nominated for a Tony for her role as Sophia. I would love to see her get some more recognition this time around, but more honestly, I lean definitely, I think, more towards Taraji, just someone who I think kind of is in this place in her career where it's like flowers are overdue. Flowers are overdue, and she really sold me on her role as Suge. And damn it, she can sing. She has pipes, and I was really moved by her performance in The Color Purple. So I would love to see those two. And I know Danielle Brooks has already been getting a bunch of nominations. So yeah, I'm happy for them, and I'm happy they're getting some recognition. I need them to get more, but I love those two. I'm gonna throw their names out there. There you go.
I would say Danielle Brooks. Like, I saw The Color Purple this weekend. Like, Danielle Brooks, I freaking loved her throughout the entire movie. Just like so strong-willed. She has pipes, and
Yeah.
she has pipes, and just like overall, like her character is such a great. It's such a great character. Like, honestly, I think like while I was seeing that, I was like, I love her. I absolutely love her. And also like supporting I think like of the other like nominees, even in the Golden Globes, like Emily Blunt did a great job in Oppenheimer. Wasn't like blown away by Emily Blunt, but again, she did a really good job. Actors, Robert Downey and Robert De Niro. Like, Robert Downey in Oppenheimer is something else. His scenes are just it's suspenseful, like the way he builds up the scene, like almost like a crescendo. It gave me very much like Quentin Tarantino, when he has these long scenes of like this dialogue, that it was like he gave me those vibes, like Christoph Waltz vibes while he was like in that role. And I was just like blown away by Robert Downey, because I didn't expect it at all throughout, like in that movie.
He's the villain of the story.
Yeah. And Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, he's scary.
He's scary, and it's so. This is like one of the biggest credits I give to that film, is that when he first comes on screen, I'm over here like, is he the bad guy? He's the
wolf? He's the wolf in sheep's clothing.
But it was so well done, because over here I'm like, he's giving bad guy. Everything he says sounds crooked. But also I'm like, he's also like, at the same time, he's like, I love the Osage people. These people love me. I sit on their council meetings, and I'm just like,
no, it's like, however, it's bad. Like, no, it's like, oh, like you are our brother. Like how they see him, and throughout the entire movie, he's killing them all.
Well, the scene where it is finally revealed, like I feel it's like relatively early on, where it's revealed that he is in on it. I was like, oh, there it is. He's bad. And I thought, because the way it plays off in the movie,
everybody else knew he was bad. All the white people knew he was bad, right? And then so like when they reveal it in the movie, it's like we were the ones who are stupid because we were like, did we need a verbal confirmation? I needed one. I'm stupid. So that's a credit to Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. I'm sorry, Robert De Niro's.
Oh yeah, Robert De Niro was fantastic in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yours?
While we're speaking on villains, Chukwudi Iwuji, he did a really good job as a villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I thought that was probably one of the better villains that we've had in the past couple of years.
All right.
And he did a really
Honestly,
good job.
the only good superhero movie. Like other than I mean, no, like other than Across the Spider-Verse. Guardians. Yeah, like Guardians was the only good live action superhero movie.
Very good. So Blue Beetle doesn't count. Moving on.
Oh right, I forgot.
No. You said it. You said it. No.
Back to Darce's picks. We want to keep.
Yeah. So for him to be able to act with CGI raccoon, not the easiest thing, but he did a really great job. Also within the Marvel universe, but now he took a step outside of the Marvel universe. In Poor Things, Mark Ruffalo, he was so fun to be in that supporting role. And it was a great time watching that, along with Norman Osborn. When he had to go, and in that movie, there's just so much things, having all those prosthetics and stuff on his face. That whole movie was a total delight. So those two supporting actors did great.
No,
I think I would like to
was hilarious.
I would like to throw Rami Youssef into that mix too. I think all
three of them were really great in terms of playing off of Emma's character. Yeah.
Yes. I wish all three of them could get nominations, but it looks like they're only leaning towards Willem and Mark. I get it.
Selections. Probably my favorite, like overall, was Charles Melton in May-December. I recognize that Robert Downey Jr. It's likely his year. It's very much a not only a great performance and a great movie that's likely to win Best Picture, but also taking the culmination of decades of his career. This is very much, it feels like a Downey win as far as the Oscars are concerned. I think in my heart of hearts, Charles Melton playing a mid-30s who is embodying a teenager in a tragedy, and you fully see the trauma unfold. And again, I'm a psychologist who is attuned and very connected to certain pieces, performance and experiences that occurred within the human life. And I don't know how he did it, and really appreciate that he did. That there were ways in which he was just standing, and the body language and how he was speaking and connecting to other characters within the film. It felt like you were watching a 13, 14-year-old.
Isn't that movie a comedy?
No, it's more maybe of a melodrama, but it's not a comedy at all. There are funny parts.
Was it not nominated for a comedy?
So that's miscast, misgenre. The Golden Globes do that all the time.
Okay.
No, it's not a comedy. There are funny parts. Just like any drama can have a funny part, but it's not a comedy. At least for me. And so his character, he's similar to how we talk about Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, where her character is the focal point, the heart, but is also the most tragic. It's very similar in terms of Charles Melton in a different way. But just really felt affected by his performance. And then two that felt also just very emotional and sincere, Rachel McAdams and Divine Joy Randolph. Of course, Divine just won the Golden Globe last night, so hopefully on her way to continuing to sweep some awards. But so she was great in The Holdovers as just a grieving mother. And then Rachel McAdams was great in Are You There, God? It's Me or Margaret as just not a grieving mother, but just one. Well, actually, yes. I think the most affecting scene in that movie is her discussing some of the loss of the relationship with her parents and what it's like to just navigate a rupture when you and your parents don't agree, and you have to create a life for yourself, and your child asks about that, and you have to have a hard conversation. And There's just a really beautiful scene in the kitchen between her and her daughter where they just talk about that. And so just wanting to bring that up as well, because it's a really great movie and she had a really wonderful performance in it. So those were three of my favorites. Any additional thoughts on supporting performances? Maybe people we haven't mentioned?
I will quickly mention Ryan Gosling as
Yeah, of course.
Ken.
Yeah.
I think he does deserve a nomination at the Oscars. I
I
like,
agree.
yeah,
No, I
yeah.
absolutely agree. I think,
Yeah, he
you
was
know,
great.
it's something about it's interesting. I was at the movies this weekend and had watched the trailer for what, the Fall Guy.
Fall Guy, yeah.
Where in terms of just watching the types of films he makes, and I always appreciate that there's like sometimes this like stoic, very like internal performance that he has like in some dramas, and then a very like gutsy, comedic, charismatic performance in other films. And Ken felt like a really wonderful combination of all of his various talents, of just being really goofy, but
Yeah.
kind of serious in some ways, but in like serious in a different type of way than he is in like say like Driver or whatever. But I think taking himself a little too seriously in the film, but definitely just gave it his all, and it's so much fun. It really is.
Comedy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Any others before we mention our breakout performances? Right. Breakout performances.
Lily Gladstone. Like Lily Gladstone for sure, and Cholo Madrileña. That I know he's in Cobra Kai, but at least movies. Breakout.
Fine. I was already a fan for Blue Beetle.
Yeah, like I don't watch Cobra Kai, so yeah.
You're missing out.
And breakout can mean whatever you want it to mean. It could be a person's first role. It could be their first big break in terms of the type of movie they're in. So I think both of them.
And well, another breakout. I haven't seen I haven't seen the movie yet, but like it is. I gotta say it as a director, Bradley Cooper.
No, Bradley Cooper's directed before.
Has he
did.
directed?
He did.
The second
Star
feature
is
film.
Born.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Take everything I said away. Like, forget it. I didn't.
Yeah, do your homework.
I'm sorry.
Other performances.
I'm going to shout out Kayla Lane from Wonka. She's the little girl in Wonka.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think she held her own opposite Timothy Chalamet. She's got a nice little voice to her as well. And she was the heart of that movie. She's the one that brought me to tears in a combination of scenes towards the end of the film. And I would like to see where she goes with her career. I'm very much invested.
Holly Bailey, Little Mermaid.
Oh, that's not her breakup.
Oh, as a like in a movie? I haven't seen her in any movie.
Oh, she was in.
And however you want to define. So this is her first big.
Big break.
Fine.
Lead. I know she's on a
Homework
TV.
Grandmaster. I would say Abby Ryder Fortson. This is a bigger movie. I know she's done a lot of movies when she was younger. She was in Dear God, It's Me, Margaret, what we were just talking about. And I thought she did a really good job being the main character throughout the whole movie. And then also Belissa Escobuela, or Escobuelo, she was in Blue Beetle. She was the younger sister, and she did a really great job in that supporting role. And I think she was one of those characters that you remember after you watch the movie. Like, oh, like if there's anything I do remember from this movie, I had a great time with her as an on-screen presence. So I think it was great. I think it was a lot of fun to see that. Dua Lipa also had her acting career.
Please, no more.
Excuse me, sir. I am speaking. Wow, so rude. So
Mermaid Barbie does not count. That's a cameo.
Either way, I'm excited to see what she does in Argyle when that comes out. But Yeah, those are my two picks.
I do see a trend with young audience or young cast. Young cast. I'm gonna quickly shout out the young cast of Theater Camp.
Well, they were great.
They were great. I really like them. One of the main kids, I know him. He's in the Mighty Ducks short-lived TV show on Disney Plus. Great young. Those felt like genuine portrayals of theater kids, and because there probably are theater kids, so I really like them in Theater Camp. So that's probably the only bit of Theater Camp I'm going to talk about here. So Hooper TV can go cry about it later. So
I like Theater Camp. My pick is Dominic Sessa. So he was the lead of The Holdovers, along with Paul Giamatti, of course. And he was really good. Like I'm Divine is likely to win the Oscar. I think at least as of now, she's maybe the front runner. Paul Giamatti is definitely in the conversation. Killian likely to win, of course. But this was his first ever acting role. He got it because he was a student at the school they were filming at.
oh really?
And
Wow.
he's so charismatic, very funny, really affecting in terms of like when we think about the emotional pieces of the film and the
I
sentimental.
really watch this movie now.
He was great. And the film overall is just so much of a, it feels like a throwback, and even the way that it's filmed, just feels like something that I have a category I like to call dad films of like, I think my dad would like this film. And this is one of them. My dad would like The Holdovers. What else is in there? Like Ford versus Ferrari is one too. Dune. I have my dad would like that. The Holdovers feels like it's just like something that is, a great kind of holiday-esque. It is set around Christmas and all that. So Dominic says it was really good though. He was just an annoying little brat, who is trying to get his way, and is just a kind of like a little fly with Paul Giamatti, and their chemistry and how they bounce off one another is just really funny and great to watch. So breakout performance. And I'm gonna mention, I don't care that he was on TV because it's not like it was a good show. I'm gonna mention Charles Melton again.
People like Riverdale.
Yeah, I know people like Riverdale. It don't make no sense.
Not
And
me
so,
though.
I'm gonna just mention him again because he should be mentioned again because May December was really great, and I'm glad that he got a role in a quote unquote serious film, even though I guess serious film is subjective according to the Golden Globes, which put it under the comedy category.
They did. And you tell me it's a melodramatic. I'm very confused.
It's very much a drama where you get to laugh sometimes. Any other breakouts before we lead to scenes? All right. Favorite scenes. Each of us, I'm gonna make it hard. You get to pick one. We'll give our honorable mentions at the end. You get to pick one that you get to give a little blurb on. You get
I think the scene that made me I teared up in this scene, it's in Across the Spider-Verse. The one that Rio, the scene, the mom scene, when she's like, I want you to protect that little boy, and always protect, that scene. I cried in that scene.
So did Dr. Jace.
It
must be a Puerto Rican thing.
Yeah.
I cried too. So maybe it was
Another Puerto Rican.
Hey.
I also cried because I am Puerto
Period.
Okay, and I love Puerto Ricans. There we go.
It's like, wherever you go from here, you have to promise to take care of that little boy for me. Make sure he never forgets where he came from, and he never doubts that he is loved. I was just through that entire scene. I saw the movie twice, and twice I cried.
Shout out to moms.
Shout out to moms
everywhere.
I think that scene just does a really good job at kind of tying it all back into this overarching theme of, when you go out into the real world, it's not going to be, it might not be everything you expect, but you always have home to come back to. And then he tries to get back home. And
Oh,
God,
We lost
that
him.
movie's perfect. Perfect.
alrighty. Darius, I'm gonna go to you next. Give me a
Ooh, that's a mistake. Favorite scene this year probably be the bathtub scene in Saltburn. Just because it was so problematic and everyone was cringing so much at that movie. And I'm over here like, what? I get it. Like I would do the same thing. Like it's great. So Saltburn bathtub scene takes the win for me.
I actually didn't cringe that much. I thought the
It
movie
wasn't that cringy at all,
it
but I
should have
mean,
been more unhinged, honestly.
Does this
I-
have to do with Barry Keoghan's?
No, it
Shit.
actually has to do with Jacob Elordi's.
yes.
Oh,
Oh,
Nate Jacobs. I see.
and so Grandmaster Hoop, your favorite scene, you get to pick one.
Oh,
to
you must hate me. I do have a list of scenes that I'll probably do a run through when you ask
Yeah,
for
we'll do
honorable
it.
mentions.
We'll do it.
Gosh, I'm just gonna take a leap here, and I'm just gonna mention. Did y'all watch Bottoms? I know many of y'all did not watch Bottoms.
I did.
Okay, thank goodness. I love Bottoms. I know I made Dar sit through Bottoms too, and he loved it as well. So Dr. Mondo, you need to go watch Bottoms. I I love that ending sequence with the Huntington football players. And I'm not gonna say much because I really want Dr. Mondo to watch this and kind of go in blindly. But one, not BB Rexa, Charlie XCX does that score with another gentleman whose name escapes me. That score hits so well in that Zack Snyder wannabe slow-mo sequence with them trying to save the day. And it was just a perfect culmination of that movie, like this fight club. And is it a fight club or is it just a thing to get laid? And they did the thing, and it was such a funny
It was
sequence.
really funny.
Oh, I love Bottoms. Not like Bottoms, the movie Bottoms.
We got the message. You didn't have to.
Just it's not for y'all, it's for everybody else listening.
Oh.
It's for
We got the
everybody
clip
else.
trailer. We got it.
Thank
It's
you.
good to know that though. It's we gotta know what we like. And what I like is the last 20 minutes of Past Lives. There are a lot of endings that I really love, so I'll get to those in a moment. Bottoms being one of them. But when it comes to like everything that I like in a film, I got in the last 20 minutes of Past Lives. And so it makes me think of one of my best friends who does not like slow movies. She wants consistent fun or action throughout. And I respect that, but also love a good quiet moment. And just the last 20 minutes of Past Lives is a conversation. That's literally what it is. It's just a conversation on reflecting on what ifs, on what could be's, on who you are as a person, who other people are as people, on recognizing your own growth and movement towards becoming someone different, but maybe someone you care about knew you at a different point in your life, and how do you kind of reckon with those changes, and do you acknowledge the grief and the loss in that, or do you just kind of ignore it? And there's just so much, and if you're watching on YouTube and you get to see that,
Is that it? That's the scene?
Yeah, that is the scene.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, it just felt really special. And the dialogue in this movie is so good. The script is really, really good. But just the very last shot, and I won't spoil too much in terms of like what it all entails, but there were some specific ways in which like where they stationed kind of Greta Lee and her character and how she was walking and then how she was walking back. And so much of it was like, how do I kind of walk the past to the past, and how do I return to my future and acknowledge that? And how can I think there's been a lot of discourse actually this week in terms of like, is this really, about a love story or the one that got away, or is this about kind of the loss and grief of like saying, I'm not that person anymore, and previous me was connected to you, but current me and future me has something else I got to do with my life. And so I think that particular, just like the scene of her walking and deciding kind of what her fate is, really attunes to that. And I just remember sitting, I was on my couch, I was watching the movie because I was not able to see it in theaters, and watching the dinner scene, which is my background here, and seeing just people have a really honest conversation about love, and basically saying like, I was in love with you, and I don't know what that means for us now and for the future, but that's where I was. And how do you feel about that? And her husband is literally sitting right next to her, and like, what do you do with that? So there's just so much that felt really special, and I don't know, emotionally provoking for me in watching the last 20 minutes.
You just
This-
reminded me of that ending, and visualizing that very ending. I was like, oh my goodness, you're right. That was so emotional. It was good. It was really good.
I was like
This-
here in tears. And there was a scene that, yeah, there's a bunch of scenes, but specifically I'm gonna pick the last 20 minutes. So.
The way you describe that scene sounds high key too relatable to life. Not specifically mine, maybe. So now I don't know if I want to watch it because it sounds like I'll cry.
You know, look, if y'all going through something in relationships, maybe don't watch past
I mean,
this.
I'm not currently, but it sounds like it's gonna dig up some old or whatever that saying is.
Things. But no, it truly, I really enjoyed the last 20 minutes. So
God,
honorable
I gotta watch it
mentions.
tonight.
Speed
Yeah.
run.
All right.
Okay, I'll go.
Well, I have a list. Do you have a list?
I have like 4.
I have it on my phone.
That's fine.
So
Okay.
I will do a speed run. Ready? No particular order. I do believe all of them have to do with music, though, where music really hit in the film. Here we go. All stations stop Spider-Man. That's the big Spider-Man chase. Complicated bottoms. So yeah. No diggity. TMNT. Mutant Mayhem. If you know the scene, you know the scene. Fusion. Oppenheimer. Osage, Oil Bloom, Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm Just Ken. Barbie, the deprogramming in Barbing, where they deprogrammed all the Barbies. Mario and Luigi, Stronger Together, Mario movie. Snoopy, Maestro. If you know, you know. Overhead Shot and the Stairs, John Wick. No Sleep Till Brooklyn, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Probably the best Guardians of the Galaxy action sequence in all 3 films. Pure Imagination and Wonka. If you know, you know. Let me stop. And then Godzilla versus Tokyo. Godzilla's -1.
Right.
Okay,
Dr.
you mentioned a couple.
I'm
of
trying
my-
to do a well-rounded little list.
Yeah, like the overhead scene in John Wick, Godzilla versus Tokyo for sure is there. I'm Just Ken. Also in Barbie, I think the crying scene where literally they read my mind. I was like, I'm so ugly. And I was like, but you're Margaret Robbie. And then immediately, she's Margaret Robbie. I'm like, bro. I was like, you read my mind. The scream scene in Killers of the Flower Moon after they blow up on like the house.
Mm.
And when like after the testing sequence in Oppenheimer,
Yeah.
and then afterwards when he like says it's like it's been a success, and like he sees kind of like the blinding light and everyone is crying and so forth. And yeah, I think those are like my honorable mentions.
Darce.
I do have to agree with you that Past Lives, the ending was very touching. And I also want to talk about Across the Spider-Verse, any scene with Gwen in her universe when talking to her dad, always touching. Also Miles and his mom having that scene was also pretty heavy up there. I think also when Miles has that anxiety of telling his mom that he's Spider-Man, there's so much anxiety, and it kind of, I felt that also, like, as like someone who has that anxiety of like, oh my gosh, if I have to go and like come out to somebody, like there's all of this like sweat, how are they going to react? Are they still going to love me the same way? Like I've been lying to them. What is this going to feel like? So that was like a huge like scene for me. But the opening scene also for Flamin' Hot, there was a little bit of a disturbance, and they immediately go to the Hispanic person and say and assume that they're the reason for the disturbance. And it's one of those scenes that gets your blood boiling, and it's like, but this is life. This is what really happens. And then Dante and Aristotle discover the secrets of the universe. There's a little scene that's like a confession in the truck, and I think that that was a great scene that was done. That's it.
Some of mine that weren't already mentioned. So like the dance scene at the ball in Poor Things that led to like the fight, and that was really funny. It's really funny. I love the airport scene in Mission Impossible.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love a little sleight of hand moment. Those are always great for me. I was battling between kind of Past Lives and this ending, which is Killers of the Flower Moon. So the last like 15 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Where yeah,
That was so unexpected.
and I think if anyone else tried this, it would not have worked. It worked really well for me in terms of kind of going a little meta, moving outside, like basically breaking the fourth wall and saying like, you know, we being folks who are non-native, particularly in this case, because it's represented by Martin Scorsese, white men are complicit in the violence towards the Osage, and yeah, it was just really affecting. But there was also like a funeral procession scene that was beautiful, just so well shot. Just the everything about it was really, really, really good on Killers of the Flower Moon. And I already mentioned that you all talked about the staircase scene in John Wick, and I'm Just Ken, Gloria's monologue, and Trinity Test, two others that weren't mentioned. So the first like miss in The Killer, where
yes,
putting up like the characters has this internal monologue, and he's like the narrator of the film, and is hyping up like, I do this, this, and this, and I don't make mistakes, and and then he makes a mistake, and it just like unravels from there, and it's so funny in terms of like, whatever the dialogue is, the intent is like he's very like confident in his ability, and then he fails. So I thought was great. I just saw American Fiction, and there is a scene in which they're just discussing the title of a book, and the character wants to change the title to Fuck. And that particular sequence is just so funny. I think satire done right is so good. And this particular scene was just hilarious. The whole theater was having a good time. So we're going to move to our next section, which is kind of the last. Similar to what I just made y'all do for the scenes, we're going to move through disappointing or underwhelming movies and hidden gems pretty quickly. So I'll have you pick one to blurb about, and then we'll do some honorable mentions because I want us to have time to really honor our top 5 films, which we may have already started to talk about. But I want you to name one disappointing or underwhelming movie that you saw this year, and give me the reason why it was disappointing or underwhelming for you. And we'll see if others agree, disagree.
Wish.
Okay.
Wish. Very underwhelming. For like something that's supposed to celebrate like the magic of Disney, for like 100 years of Disney, it was possibly like one of Disney's most non-magical films. I just did not feel the magic. It was very bland. It was very flat. It was very, like there was nothing magical about it, in my opinion.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. So, right. Who's next? Disappointing, underwhelming movie?
I mean, I wrote in my list or on my notes, I wrote majority of the summer blockbusters I found to be really disappointing. The only film in my notes that I called out by name was indeed Wish. Uh, and I think it's namely because for me, it was eye-opening as to far as Disney has lost a lot of the spectacle element, which I then started going back and watching other Disney films. And just even if they're not musicals, there's an element of spectacle that they strive for. And in Wish, they don't nail it with the music nor the spectacle.
Yeah.
It's just not an entertaining movie overall.
It falls flat.
There's some parts that are enjoyable, but overall, it was like they weren't looking to do anything really groundbreaking in the Disney tradition, and it's very sad when you look at it holistically. So, God, I'm not sorry. It is what it is.
Darce?
I think superhero movies as a whole were a little bit on the disappointing side. There were, I mean, obviously a couple big names that we've been talking about a lot. Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians, and Blue Beetle, even though Grandmaster Hoop doesn't care for it.
No.
Oh,
Don't
no,
make this about me.
I think Quantumania and The Flash both had a little bit more of that disappointing factor in the sense that we didn't really get the same magic that we normally got when it came to going to the movie theaters and rooting for your superheroes. I think we kind of just got lost in the CGI for those two heavy CGI movies. And we didn't really get pulled in on the story either. And I think it's more disappointing for Marvel in specific, just because we've had 10 plus years of pretty good movies, especially with the Endgame saga, the Infinity Saga. And then to see that we haven't really had like that great of a movie, like a huge one, come out since it kind of stinks for this year. And then same thing with Flash. With Flash, you get like a big name like Michael Keaton to reprise his role as the Batman, and I think his part was like the only enjoyable part of that movie because everything else was kind of flat. It was a Midsummer's Night Dream. So that's all I had for over underwhelming movies.
Can I piggyback off of something he said real quick?
Yeah.
James Gunn lied.
Oh,
James
okay.
Gunn said The Flash was one of the greatest superhero films of all
I
time.
see. I was like,
He lied. He
You
lied.
should have just left it at that.
He lied. He's a liar.
they were trying to sell a movie.
I don't
didn't
care.
see it. Honestly, I think you bring up a really great point, Darce, because I think I've been so jaded by how not good so many of the superhero movies have been. I can't tell you, beside live action, I should say. I can't tell you the last one I saw in theaters. It may have been Blue Beetle with you, literally. Anything else any other superhero film that came out after that I had not seen, and anything that came out before that I had not seen.
Oh, you had not seen the Marvels yet?
I haven't seen the Marvels. I haven't seen Aquaman. I haven't seen Flash.
Well, Aquaman was trash too, but yeah.
I didn't even go and watch.
I did not go to theaters to see Guardians. It's just been incredibly disappointing lately. Guardians, I ended up watching at home and thought it was good. But yeah, you're right.
I do also have to mention though that the Marvels, it was higher on the list than I thought it would be. Not the best movie out there, but it was definitely higher than a little bit more higher middle on the superhero range.
Sure, I'll see it at some point. But mine was more so of like disappointing in that it had a lot of potential, and I thought it was actually beautiful in terms of the visuals, but story-wise, plot-wise, it kind of fell off, which is The Creator. An original sci-fi film that I thought is like genuinely beautiful, like the CGI, the set design, the design of like some of the ships, the technology, etc. I think it felt a little undercooked for me. in terms of the plot. Some of it didn't quite make sense. I think we had a conversation literally at the top of the pod of AI, and this felt kind of like a. I think by the end of the movie, I was like, what do you want me to reflect on when it comes to AI? Not that like a movie has to have a message for me to reflect on, but I think this one inherently, because it was reflecting on, you know, ethics or morals associated with AI, that inherently that I'm doing that. And I don't know what it wanted. Like, am I in support? Am I not in support? I think there were, yeah, it felt a little confusing, a little muddled for me in terms of the plot. And it was disappointing in that I think there was just a lot of potential. It ended up being like, if I tend to rate things at a 5-star, it was like a 3-star movie for me. And I felt like it could have been more than that because of just like how it was structured, what it looks like, the cast. And it didn't really hit all the points for me the way that I really wanted it to. I was so excited to go see it. I saw it in theaters. Really excited to support like a you know, an original sci-fi film, and it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So
Ooh, and that's kind of sad and was on my list for Hulu.
Like
I still recommend watching it, but
I liked it. I honestly liked it a lot, like the creator. So, but yeah, like I can see your point, but yeah, I'll talk about it later.
Any other underwhelming films we want to mention? One I will, because I feel the same way. Saltburn also felt really undercooked for me.
Ooh.
And the biggest thing I will say is I think if it partially wanted to be a psychosexual drama and then didn't fully actually go unhinged the way that it probably needed to. And it felt like it wanted to have a twist ending that wasn't a twist at all. And
Right.
so similar to the creator, I think there were ideas that could have been really interesting that weren't executed in a way that was connecting or interesting to me.
I think it was also a little too overhyped of like, oh my gosh, this movie is just so
It's so disturbing.
crazy.
Look, I watched some disturbing shit, okay? The French, the Italians, they be making some shit, y'all, okay?
Oh.
Some
Correct.
damn scene of bathwater ain't all that.
But yeah,
Oh.
honorable mentions for my disappointing, like yeah, like superhero, like the Marvels, Quantumania, The Flash. Another disappointing movie. My God, like I had it on. Napoleon was slightly disappointing. It was like it was good, but it was disappointing for me. And which was the other? My God, I like forget it. Someone else talking. I'll remember what the other disappointing film was.
Don't worry, I got you. I got.
Wait. Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon.
That wasn't what I was gonna say, but
You mean Star Wars?
Just like a Star Wars without a plot, or just like
Right.
it's just so bland.
Yeah.
Beautiful, like
Stunning. Visually
which
beautiful.
which is typical Zack Snyder. Most of Zack Snyder's movie are visually stunning, yet the depth, it's like the thickness and everything of just the dialogue and the plot, it's like this.
Yeah.
The majority of Zack Snyder movies.
Sounds
I think
about
we
right.
had an enjoyable time watching the movie and roasting it than we did like if we took it seriously. But
I
that's
watched
just,
it on a plane. It did its purpose.
Ray Fisher says he only does movies that he thinks are great based on the screenplay. So I don't think I'll ever listen to him again.
Any honorables for you before?
Yes, real quickly, The Little Mermaid. Let's be honest, okay? Ariel's sisters don't get a number. They don't even sing background in Under the Sea. I get it. You're trying to be more realistic. You're already a mermaid. Why can't we have a fish that plays the bongos? Why can't the fish play the trumpet? Why is that so hard? There's no magic in that movie. There's no magic, okay? Another thing, Ursula, they started with the backstory of her being related to Triton, and they dropped it. King Triton doesn't even acknowledge her as his sister, and she calls him brother. I need backstory. Why is she the only octopus mermaid? Why was she kicked out? They didn't give us anything. They didn't give us
What are your-
anything.
What are your other movies?
That's
Like,
it. That's my
We
most
just-
big. That's my most biggest
We
disappointment.
just need an Ursula origin story of a movie.
I don't need an origin story. I just need them to do something different to warrant a live action remake. Nothing they did. Lin-Manuel, you mean to tell me he gets the opportunity to write new songs and he doesn't write a duet for Ariel and Eric? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Want me to
we
play you a
are
song?
going to talk about our hidden gems because we definitely want to get to our top
That's
5.
fine.
So that's
let's
what we're
keep
doing.
let's keep going.
We all get one hidden gem to mention.
And,
Sorry, gotta push it. That's what
and
we're
then
doing.
honorable mention. So yeah, mine Godzilla -1.
All right.
Second, I not mine, but I second that.
Okay, what is yours then?
Oh, my heart wants to say Bottoms, but I feel I've already mentioned Bottoms, so let me mention some other films in here. How about The Blackening? The Blackening was really funny. If you ended up seeing The Blackening, definitely a fun movie to pick apart with other black folks. That's one for the culture. Very good movie. The Blackening.
Stars.
Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe. It's probably a little hidden gem.
Okay. Is that on a streaming service?
I will do my homework and find that out for you and put it
Because
in
I
the
want
chat.
people to go watch it.
Correct.
Okay. He's gonna Google so you can know where to watch it. Mine is How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
Is that the one with the Alaskan pipeline or something?
No, it's
All right.
set in Texas.
Never
So
mind.
it's in the book, but I believe it is on Hulu, and it's pretty damn good. It's in my tops in general. It's not going to be my top 5. That's why I want to be able to put it in hidden gem. But yeah, it is it reminds me of kind of a Soderbergh type film. It's a little thriller heist situation with like social commentary built within it. It is called How to Blow Up a Pipeline for a reason. Have some really interesting characters, and it is tight. It's not no knock to 2+ hour movies or 3+ hour movies, but they keep it short, sweet, to the point. And I think it's really impressive to get that amount of like character development and like tension in a short amount of time. So highly recommend.
Honorable mentions for me really quick. The Creator, Sisu, Blue Beetle, and Beau is Afraid. Those are my honorable mentions.
Other hidden gems or things that you were pleasantly surprised by?
I'll go ahead and say Bottoms as well. I really had no kind of anything going into the Bottoms, and I ended up being one of my favorite films of the year. Poor Things, same. And then surprisingly, I'm going to mention Zoe 102. I thought that would have been a travesty of a film. And I didn't even watch season 4 of Zoe 101. Nor do I think I've ever actually finished season 3 of Zoe 101. Either way, that movie was better than what I expected. I actually laughed a good amount. And with that said, I don't think I care about the exploits of a future Zoe 103, but
you were okay with 102 though. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, it's crazy. What a world we live in. Yeah.
Dars?
Yes.
The streaming site?
There's none, unfortunately. You have to rent it or just wait for it to come out later. But honorable mentions, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. That was a little bit of a hidden gem. Not a lot of people saw that one. And one that we didn't really discuss much, but I had a really fun time watching it, and I think I was watching it with you. Dungeons and Dragons. That was
Wow. Yeah.
That's a good show.
Dungeons and Dragons
movie.
is a hidden gem.
Yeah, very funny, super creative. That's a great show.
It came out during a busy April. It was it got kind of swept under the rug
I
a
saw
little
it in
bit.
theaters too.
Same.
I saw it in
Yeah.
theaters too.
I dragged Catwoman V to
hours.
come watch it.
Well,
We liked it.
At the near
And
the-
also, sorry,
oh,
to give a little love to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. also.
Oh, I
But-
was about to give some love in the next category, but
Well,
Oh,
we're on our top five. What I tend to kind of organize this in this way because it's likely that we've already started to talk about what may be in our top fives. I know I certainly have. So it allows for us to certainly have some conversation, but we've likely already mentioned the things we really, really enjoyed about the films that are in our top five. And it's nice to just be able to compare and see what folks enjoyed, maybe what they didn't enjoy that's not on their list. But what we'll do is we'll start with our number fives. So whoever wants to mention what their number five is first can go ahead and do so.
Fourth.
To Grandmaster Hoop's chagrin, Little Mermaid was actually my number five. I very much enjoyed it. I like the new songs. Keep your opinion to yourself. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it very much, and that little island scene in the middle, it was a fun little take, and I don't know, I just had a really fun time. I probably listened to those two new songs like a lot. So
Wild
two.
I liked Wild Uncharted Waters a lot.
thank you.
He writes two new songs, only two.
No, he wrote three, but there's the two are the ones that I liked.
Yeah. But my number five is Poor Things.
My number five is also Poor Things.
My number five was Poor Things.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Darce, you're a weirdo.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, the first nice thing you said about me today.
That wasn't a compliment.
I think we
Oh.
mentioned a lot of likely what has worked for Poor Things in terms of just a wonderful lead performance by Emma Stone, some really great supporting performances, incredible creativity, set design. I think the kind of the steampunky
Yes, it was giving steampunk. Yes.
elements was very cool. A
That
nice bit of
fashion.
spin on Frankenstein as a story. Yeah, just a really fun, odd, quirky film that embraced the fun, odd, quirky.
Agreed.
Okay. So number fours.
Barbie.
Barbie. Okay. Darce.
The color purple.
Color purple. Okay. Well, you've enjoyed singing this year.
Thank you.
Yeah. Little Mermaid number five. The color
Oh.
purple number four. Okay. Ethan.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem.
Oh. Give us a blurb. What do you like about it? We haven't really talked.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. One, y'all can catch our actual deep dive review of it. We do have that. But yeah, quickly, again, animation strides. A blend of, traditional 2D mixed with like this wannabe stop motion / straight out of a comic book type of vibe too, going on with TMNT. And what I really think the selling point for this movie is that of the 10 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies that are officially like labeled a movie, this is the one where they feel like teenagers. And it was a very strong element to the film that makes it so enjoyable, is that, they are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they never emphasize the teenager part. So I got to give a mad props to the young cast who do the four turtles. And I think it's probably my most fun I ever had with such a beloved franchise. And I'm excited to see more. And just a really great year for animation, like y'all said. And this movie is one of the reasons why.
Right. My number four is May December. I've mentioned Charles Mountain multiple times. So I won't belabor that again. What I will say though, I didn't talk as much about Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore, and I will say both of them are kind of, we talked about Robert Downey Jr. and Robert De Niro's, playing these villains, and feeling kind of like slimy, snaky. What is the word that I'm looking for? There's another word that I'm
Sleazeball.
Yeah, a little sleazy in some ways, but there is some kind of undercurrent of, like this is not a good person. And that's what it feels like to watch Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore in May December.
Really?
Yeah. And there's this obviously it's a story around exploitation and
I have no idea what it's about.
And they just like fully embody that in different ways. In Natalie Portman's case, she's an actor that is playing Julianne Moore in a movie. And so is coming to the house to kind of observe her. And so she's really kind of exploiting the nature of the story for her own gain artistically. And then Julianne Moore literally is an abuser and a groomer. Her character, I should say.
Yes.
And just her playing that particular character, and there's just like this very undercurrent of like dread that she brings to it that we've seen in some other characters this past year, so May, December. What did y'all like, Dr. Mondo and Darce, what did you like about your 4th films? Barbie, The Color Purple?
Well, Barbie, I think I've said like a lot of stuff. Like I had so much fun with that movie. And honestly, like Greta Gerwig, wow. It's like how you made a movie about a doll, like also profound, but fun at the same time. How, like,
Only Greta Gerwig.
it's like props, like absolute props. Plus, like the casting was on point. Everything was on point. The songs were great. Honestly, I just had so much fun in that movie.
The Color Purple, Darce, what did you like about it?
The musical elements were a lot of fun. And I think it was also just, again, part of that movie theater experience. I saw it with a friend of mine, and then while we were in the theater, someone who was in the production of the movie was sitting right in front of us and just gave us some like inside blurbs. And I think that like, again, elevates a movie experience to another level. But yeah, just watching the movie was a great time.
Glad you watched it with your friend.
Yep,
Yeah.
just a
What a
friend.
good friend. Yeah.
Yeah, what a
Like,
great friend. I don't think you would have saw that movie that day without your friend.
Guess in another multiverse, we'll never know.
Oh, yeah, but moving on.
number 3s.
Killer Flower.
Mine is also Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oppenheimer, number
Okay.
3. Yeah.
Mine was Poor Things, and we already discussed it.
Right. Killers of
So-
the Flower Moon.
So yeah, y'all lining up over here with your picks.
Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit. I will say Barbie was initially my number 4, but was moved down to maybe like a 6 or a 7.
Barbie's my 6.
So we would have been a little bit more aligned, but no, Killers of the Flower Moon, I think we probably talked so much about Lily Gladstone and Robert De Niro and Leo, and there was another cast member I wanted to mention a little earlier that I hadn't. Oh no, something happened in my document, so I can't mention her, but she played one of the sisters, and I wish I knew her name because I don't like when I do that, because we want to acknowledge the so I'll look it up as I'm talking to say it had a really great cast, and there was a particular scene that we didn't mention a little bit earlier. Cara Jade Myers, there we go, played one of the sisters of the Osage having their like council meeting, and that was off the cuff. They didn't write a particular kind of piece of script for that. They just asked them just to have a conversation, like, what would you say in this moment? What would you share? And it just goes to show, I think, to Dr. Mondo's point a little earlier, some of the care that was put into creating this film, knowing what the content was, knowing the complicity, knowing the ways in which we, here in the US frequently don't talk about history in the way that it needs to be. So yeah, it is a tragic film. It's heartbreaking. It's hard to watch at times. And it's incredibly needed. Particularly for those to which, this is not our experience, or the experience of maybe our people. Or we just don't know anything about the history of the Osage. And something I really appreciated, which we didn't mention, was the book that this is kind of based off of. The book is more focused on the creation of the FBI. And there was an intentional shift to focus it more on the Osage. and to focus it more on Lily Gladstone's, it's a character in the movie, but an actual person in history. And to say like, it doesn't need to be a procedural of like who's doing this, because we know who's doing it. But more so of like the film is like, how did this happen, less so than like who did it. Like everyone in the town was a part of the scheme and the violence, but it's more of like, here is how a system functions to disrupt, harm, and eradicate a people. And it's an incredibly powerful, moving film.
Fully agree.
I was about to say, you got to follow what she just said. Go ahead.
Like he literally said like everything I was thinking.
Dars, anything you want to add about Poor Things?
No, I mean, we talked about it a lot on this podcast. But like I said, again, the fashion that Emma Stone was wearing, bring it back, bring those big old puffy sleeves back. The strange hybrid character or creatures that were being created. The ending
Avatar.
was yeah, and the ending was such a twist, because we were sitting there and my roommates, what she called out like, oh, this is what's gonna happen, and then something totally different happened, and it was just really funny. So yeah, I thought it was a great movie.
Ethan? Oppenheimer.
Oh, Oppenheimer. I was like, wait, what did I forget?
Number 3.
Yeah, no, I think Oppenheimer, honestly, for me as a Christopher Nolan stan that I am, mind you, I haven't seen his earliest works. It's Batman onward for me. I feel this is his magnum opus. I don't know. I just felt we've been building towards this with Christopher Nolan as a film director. And I think for me, what really sold it, I know a lot of people don't like the non-linear storytelling of Oppenheimer. I actually really enjoy it. I love a courtroom drama. I love a courtroom procedure. I like flashbacking. So I actually really dig that particular style of filmmaking. But with that said, too, again, performances across the board. I mean, this is probably the largest ensemble of white famous actors.
There's so
male,
many.
there's so many male actors too, for that matter, in this one movie. Fucking Josh Beck, excuse my language. God,
It kept showing up. I was so confused. There were so
right.
many. Like, how did they find so many?
Well, how did you find so many, and how did you find a significant role for them to do? Like every one of them has like a significance to somewhere in the Manhattan Project, whether it was before, during, or after. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I don't know, it felt like a magnum opus. And I mean, we already talked about the cast plenty. I would say the last thing I need to say about this movie is my boy Ludwig Göransson. He's been killing it with musical scores. He's got such a diverse repertoire. And yeah, I feel, if it wasn't Hans Zimmer, I would pick Ludwig to score this movie. And that's one of my favorite scores this year. Can You Hear the Music? Fusion. Those are like two of my favorite tracks of this year. If Daniel Pemberton from Across the Spider-Verse is to lose to anybody, it can only be Ludwig. And I stand by that.
All right. Number 2s.
Oppenheimer.
Okay.
Oppenheimer.
Okay. Cooper.
Bottoms.
Mine is Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, wow.
Number 2. Are there additional thoughts that Dars, Dr. Mondo, y'all have about Oppenheimer as your number 2?
No, it's like honestly, this was like really hard. Like I think like everyone knows what my number 1 is gonna be, but yeah, like it was hard. Like because like Oppenheimer was amazing. Like Oppenheimer really is like that. What Grandmaster said, that magnum opus. It is honestly a film of of atomic proportions. It, like, just wow. But yeah, and I think I've talked at length already of like the scenes and all that, like Cillian Murphy, how he and Robert Downey Jr., how they just like steal the show in that movie. And honestly, like the entire cast is fantastic in that movie.
Just
But
so many of them.
it's my number two because, granted, I'm a very as it's very difficult for me to say I'm gonna watch a movie a second time. It's very hard for me. Even a great movie, it's very hard for me to watch it a second time. I would watch it for a second time, but like like very close to one another, not quite. And that was like why there's another movie in my number one.
Darius, any additional Oppenheimer thoughts?
Like I was saying for Color Purple, like going to the movies and that experience itself is what is a big driving factor for me. And then going to Oppenheimer and then hearing that panel discussion afterwards with the nuclear scientists, like the people who were part of the farms in Mexico that got a lot of that radiation. Like there's a lot of elements that you didn't even think of that like just added even more to the story on top of it being a phenomenal story. You know, like the 3 hours went by, and it was fantastic. I felt the anxiety that he was getting when he was in that one scene and he would like start seeing like all of like the radioactive like the body parts and like the fallout, and like he was supposed to, and everybody was cheering for him. Everyone was saying like you did it, but he was like thinking to himself like I did it. You're right. Like I am the cause of all evil. Like you know, like the duality between it all and anxiety. Such a phenomenal movie.
And no, it's like, you know, like if you read like the history like behind that when he says that, and like in history it's documented, that's like there was that the movie did a great job at this because there was this mix of thunderous applause, of pure silence, and those that were just crying. That like, and that's like documented. Like they were like people that were just crying, not like tears of just like, oh my God, what have we done?
Did you say crying?
No, yeah.
Don't let that crybaby in my office ever again.
No, but and the movie they show all
Got it.
Line from the movie.
It's a
The
line
president.
from the movie. It's what Eisenhower said to.
Oh yeah. I'm like,
God, just move. What? Wait, actually, was it Eisenhower? Just
it's
move.
a random
Finish-
interjection.
Finish your thought. I'm sorry. Just
Oh yeah, that's pretty much. And they really showed that in that scene of the movie.
Yeah, I will say, you know, Oppenheimer is in my like overall list of like best movies. It is, you know, how I mentioned a little earlier that there are films in which I appreciate the technical achievements, but I feel no connection to some of the characters for a variety of reasons. This is one of them. Where I'm like, it's incredibly impressive, so I'm not going to take away from the fact that it's an impressively made movie with a really wonderful cast, etc. The first 2 hours worked really well for me. I wasn't as connected to the third, so that's why it just didn't show up in my top five.
many
And I
people
will
share that
hold-
sentiment.
I will hold off on talking about Across the Spider-Verse because I imagine we're going to talk about it. So I will go to number ones.
Across.
Ross.
Across.
Past lives.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Across the Spider-Verse because it was my number two, 3 number ones. What did you love about it besides what we've already mentioned? Is there something we haven't talked about yet that?
Well,
So- Go.
I'm gonna speak as you know, when it comes to I'm gonna put it I'm gonna keep it mad simple because this is what I've been ranting about like to y'all in the chat on Twitter. It's like this. Only 3 animated films have been nominated for Best Picture. Okay. And for whatever reasons, they were nominated. Only 3 in the history. Okay. Beauty and the Beast, Up, Toy Story 3. Across the Spider-Verse deserves to be in that conversation for animated films that transcend and get nominated for Best Picture. The feats that this movie achieves in animation alone, not only storytelling, but like animation alone, are like we said this before with Into the Spider-Verse, how groundbreaking it was. And we're like, can it be repeated? Can it be done again? Not only did they do it again, they did it times 10. Okay. The character of Spider-Punk is a huge anomaly in terms of animation and frame rates. It's incredible what they have done in this movie in terms of animation. And I can only imagine the third entry in this series is only going to keep pushing it more.
It will push beyond.
And I
What we
feel
thought.
if we are looking at why those other 3 films got nominated for Best Picture, they're more story based than they were like, breaking animation grounds. This one is story based too, on top of everything that it's done animated wise. I need people to put respect on this movie. I hate the Golden Globes.
Granted, like, one, shout out to Miyazaki because I am a Miyazaki stan. But yeah, that award was for Across. And yeah, like Across, echoing what Grandmaster Hoop said. Also, kind of echoing what Dr. Rika said about, like, in Oppenheimer, you didn't feel that connection. I felt a connection in Spider-Verse. Like, obviously, like that. Granted, yes, I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm gonna feel it there. 2, like that relationship with his mom, like I felt it, and it was like that overarching theme in the movie is like, it's so touching, that family theme, that I was, and it's just like consistently throughout the movie. Well, and everything, like even animation wise, it's how it blends, comic, how it blends like almost like an impressionist painting, like in the background. It just blends so many art forms and gives it to you all. And it's like, wow, it's like you're seeing a Monet, a Van Gogh, then you're seeing like a detective noir, then you're seeing like a comic book, all in one, like in like a couple of frames. That's out of this world. Like I told my dad, my dad is like, with animation, he's like, so go watch it. Go watch it. My dad like told me that is one of the best things I've ever seen. Like my dad saw that movie, he was blown away from that movie. And like, yeah, for me, and it was hard because I was between Across and Oppenheimer. Loved Oppenheimer. It's like, and it was today that I was thinking about this. Like, like, yeah, it has to go to Across. I watched Across twice, maybe a week kind of like in between. Enjoyed it the same as the first time I watched it. Cried the same in that scene as the first time I watched it. And for me to watch a movie a second time that quickly, it takes something.
Dars, your Across thoughts?
I think we hit on every single subject on this movie. It was fantastic, and that's why it's our number one. I already talked about how I related to those scenes. The score was mentioned a lot. And those animations, and even bringing characters from different comic books and all different types of iteration into that one chasing scene. It was just so fun, and it was one of those times where you go to the movies and you really have an enjoyable time watching it, and it was just a great time.
The one thing I'll add, Hobie, I loved so much, so much. The animation, Grandmaster Hoop was already mentioned. Just the amount of labor, love put into animating him on screen. So just wanted to specifically name that. And also Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah.
Voice performance. What a great villain. He's kind of attractive as a little
Canon.
animated character, sort of. You know, whatever. Animated characters can be attractive.
They can. It's true.
You know, a little scary. Kind of hot. Anyway, mine is Past Lives, which I've already talked about in a variety of ways. In terms of the last 20 minutes, how much I love the script, Greta Lee. Yeah, there's something about, what's so interesting is I was reflecting on this because it's A24 is the company that is distributing Past Lives. And last year, Everything Everywhere was my favorite movie of the year, also distributed by A24. And how like vastly different each film is. Of like Everything Everywhere is just like this smorgasbord of like visual story, just everything. Like they put everything, they throw it all in the kitchen sink or whatever the phrase is, and it works. But what the heart of it is just like this emotional piece about family and love and identity and the self and shame and a bagel and nihilism and existentialism and all these things, these really big broad ideas, and it's just incredibly creative. And Past Lives is very much just scaled back, not magically real, not magical realism, and it's just about the people, but with the same type of like emotional reflection. And rather than kind of reflecting on relationship with family and love in that sense, it's about kind of both the relationship with the self and the relationship with other people in a romantic sense. And I've spoken a lot already about just grief and loss and what does it mean to kind of let go of a version of yourself to continue to grow, and that's really hard. And I don't know, there's just something about this movie that both moves through time, because it starts with like childhood and moves to young adulthood and then moves to like a middle-ish or adulthood, and gets to follow characters in that span, and just makes you think. I think the central piece of dialogue within the film is just this idea of like what it means by past lives. I interpret it as both like the past lives of the characters that we get to see throughout the film, but also this idea of like in a more spiritual sense of like, if this is another version of my life, what might the next version bring me, and what might I have experienced in those previous versions, and what does that mean about how I engage with my life? And I don't know, there's just all these ways in which the movie made me think and feel really connected to, I don't know, my own reflection as a human being, and what I feel connected to in my relationships and in my career. And I love when movies do that. So I think that's why I edged out Across the Spider-Verse, where it brought me a different type of joy and a different type of emotion, but ultimately it was what made me cry and think existentially, which frankly Everything Everywhere did the same thing last year, so clearly there's a pattern. So I couldn't not make, or I was too many negatives there. It was impossible for me to not put Past Lives as number one.
Well, with that argument, I understand.
Any films you want to quick mentions? What's in your like top 10 or 20 that you maybe haven't already mentioned in a different space in the podcast before we quickly mention the releases we look forward to?
I think every film in my top 10 we have mentioned except for one, and it came in at number 9 for me. I'll go ahead and say it. Renaissance. I really enjoyed Renaissance. I'll tell you, namely because Beyonce's a pretty gosh darn good director. Yeah. I give her mad props for that. And it takes a lot to be vulnerable
and she was very vulnerable in what she chose to showcase in that film. And I really appreciated that. And also, what great insight into the makings of a world tour. 5 years in the making. That was before the album even came out. They were making it. That's crazy. All right. And if she knows anything about camera lenses, just as Google does, you better listen to her. Don't ever talk back to the queen.
Other honorable mentions.
The Boy and the Heron. I really liked it. And John Wick 4. And I really also liked Mission Impossible.
I liked Mission Impossible.
I liked it a lot.
Darce, ones you want to give shout outs to?
Super Mario Brothers was a fun time to watch. That was a fun little animated movie. I did also enjoy Scream 6. I had a good time watching that one. Trying to think, there was one more. I saw this one a little delayed, so Grandmaster Hoop might yell at me, but
Please
it's
don't.
After Sun.
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
I
a
know.
smaller
It's one of my
movie,
favorites.
and
Yeah.
it wasn't one that I could go see in theaters, so I had to wait for it to come out. And then when I did go see it in 2023, it was great. I teared up so much, but it was good.
It's a 2022 movie. He got nominated literally for this movie at the Academy Awards.
Ones that weren't mentioned, because I did mention Tiana Taylor in 1001. Asteroid City I really liked.
Oh, Asteroid City, yeah.
Priscilla I liked.
Uh-huh.
Other things we already mentioned, like The Holdovers, Theater Camp, Godzilla Bottoms. We'd already mentioned some of those. Really, the last peek to round us out, we're just gonna shout out the movies we're really excited to see in 2024. As we build anticipation and as we look forward to covering maybe some of these on the podcast itself in deeper dives. What are you looking forward to? Like, start shouting out the movies you're looking forward to seeing.
If Deadpool 3 can make its 2024 release date, I'll be very surprised, and B, I'm trying to temper them, but I think I have a lot of expectations going into that one.
Deadpool 3 for sure is one of mine too.
Yeah.
Dune.
Dune.
And Clarence.
Mean
Furious.
Girls is coming out this week.
I'm
So-
seeing it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I hope you're wearing pink.
Yeah, I got a little pink hat.
Good. We'll be
I'm
watching
excited.
it Thursday.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Furiosa as
Furiosa, yeah.
Mad Max Fury Road stand. Love Lies Bleeding, which is a Kristen Stewart thriller where she falls in love with a female bodybuilder.
Oh.
I love
Okay.
thrillers. What else is coming out this year?
Here, let me.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Kingdom of the
Okay,
Planet.
yeah.
That there's a lot
like this
riding on
movie.
that movie. There's a lot riding on that movie because the
Oh.
first three, damn near perfect film trilogy. I really hope this one delivers.
Gladiator 2 is slated for this year.
Oh yeah.
Denzel, Paul Mescal, as Darce just mentioned, After Sun.
Yep.
Could be good.
That
Who
could be
knows?
interesting.
Grandmaster
Twisters.
Hoop is gonna make an audible noise, but I kind of am excited to see Madam Web. I think
The guy that was with me when my mom was researching in the spiders in the jungle.
But
Is
I'm
it?
excited to see how it turns out. It's gonna be so
excited.
campy.
I'm excited to see Lady Gaga.
Oh, Joker 2.
Oh,
Am I excited for Joker 2? No, I'm excited for Lady Gaga.
I'm excited.
I hope it delivers. I
just have to
do.
watch the movie to see her. What
Beetlejuice
else?
2.
Yeah,
The
I guess
idea,
Beetlejuice too. Yeah.
The idea of you is supposed to be a little rom-com situation, kind of like Red, White, and Royal Blue. Anne Hathaway falls in love with like a Harry Styles knockoff.
I did at Coachella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
one.
Okay, I saw. Speaking of
Wicked.
monkeys. Oh, Wicked. Yeah, Wicked.
Oh yeah, Wicked.
Let's
Yeah.
see if all the home wrecking was worth it.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Okay.
Um,
wow.
Now that's becoming a gossip pod. I don't know if you all have ever seen Roadhouse, the original movie. I unironically enjoy Roadhouse. Is it good? No.
Who's in the new one?
In the new one is
Jake
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay.
Am I gonna go see it? Absolutely. Is it gonna be better than the original? No, because Patrick Swayze, my childhood crush.
Very true.
Um,
Inside Out 2.
Oh, that is this year. You're right. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get me and my colleagues to go watch it for like a little. Like I think we should go close the office and a bunch of psychologists go and watch Inside Out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, see, you're on
Yeah.
board.
Well,
There's
having
an
studied.
81. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, having studied child psychology, I want to see how the basic emotions are kind of weeded out or whatever.
Any other movies we want to mention before we close?
Amy
it out?
Winehouse.
Oh
there's
yeah,
some-
Back to Black.
I didn't know that was ever going to be a thing, and I saw
There's
it on a
also
list.
Bob Marley, One Love.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's also a Zendaya movie coming out soon. Challenge.
Challengers.
It was pushed back. It was supposed to.
Challengers.
This is the tennis one.
Yes.
Okay,
I
right.
can't
This
wait.
was supposed to come out already. It got pushed back. Godzilla X Kong. I don't know how to read that.
I don't know. We fight.
Yeah, I think it's like I'm gonna see it, but after seeing minus one,
We live in a world where we can get two very distinct Godzilla films, and they both have the potential to be good. I have to say this for Dr. Jace. Sonic 3 comes out in December, featuring everybody's favorite gun-toting red and black hedgehog, Shadow the Hedgehog. And there is a new animated Transformers movie coming out that I'm high-key interested in. Transformers 1. It stars Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime and Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron.
Ooh, I do like Brian Tyree Henry.
I know. This is quite the little voice cast.
Well, I've appreciated everyone's involvement and talking about movies in 2023. I don't know if this was under 3 hours.
just less than 3 hours.
We did our best. If you got to this part, we appreciate your listening. Follow us on all the things, on all the social medias, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on the Facebook, on the Twitter or X or whatever it is, on the Instagram, on the TikTok. Hooper makes a Grandmaster Hoop just makes a bunch of things on the various sites, and you should watch them. Yeah. And we have a Discord that we should probably use more of, but we don't. We should do that. And you should follow us on the Spotify, on the Apple, on wherever you get your podcast. Listen, give us is there a thumbs up? If there is, you should thumbs us up. And keep listening this year. I'm doing great with this. I'm a marketing expert. That's movies in 2023. Everyone sing your favorite song from 2023. Go.
Cuff it. What?
Sing your favorite song from 2023. Go.
Just can't anywhere else I be attained. Is it my destiny to live and die a life blown?
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
Those wild, uncharted waters beyond our kind of sea.
I loved that.